All right, history buffs and time travel enthusiasts, if you're ready to step into another life, remember to like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments who should travel next and in what year. Now, let's go to Venice, Italy. It's the year 1342. And you, a 41-year-old mechanical engineer, have just landed in its labyrinthine heart. The first thing that hits you is the pervasive damp chill, seeping into your bones from the stone walls of the narrow alley. It clings to your clothes, a stark contrast to the climate-controlled offices you're used to. Above the putrid smell of stagnant water and something vaguely fishy, a jarring clang of metal echoes nearby, a rhythmic hammering that vibrates through the very ground beneath your feet. Your modern jacket, an anomaly in this wool and linen world, feels heavy and out of place. He instinctively clutches at it, the synthetic fabric a sudden, alien comfort. He opens his eyes, disoriented by the dim, murky light filtering between towering, ancient buildings. The alley is cobblestone, uneven and slick, reflecting the dull gray sky. His gaze drifts upwards, noting the precarious angles of the wooden balconies, the elaborate ironwork, and the utter lack of anything resembling modern infrastructure. No wires, no streetlights, just flickering oil lamps within the windows and the occasional torch. His engineer's mind, usually a well-oiled machine for problem solving, is overwhelmed by the sheer, fundamental difference of everything. The air is thick with the murmur of a language he can't comprehend, a rapid, guttural flow that sounds vaguely Italian, yet entirely alien. He hears the splash of water, the creak of timber, and the distant shouts of unseen figures. You stand there for a long moment, a ghost in an unfamiliar machine, trying to process the impossible. His mind immediately starts categorizing, assessing. The structures are robust, built to last, but the methods, they seem so inefficient, so raw. He notices the crude ropes and pulleys used by a nearby worker attempting to hoist a heavy crate onto a small boat. The leverage is all wrong, the effort immense. A flicker of frustration, then recognition, crosses his face, a challenge, a fundamental problem waiting for a simpler solution. He takes a hesitant step. His modern shoes a jarring sound against the ancient stones. His stomach growls, a sharp reminder of basic needs. He needs food, shelter, and a way to understand this cacophony of foreign sounds. His engineering expertise, usually applied to complex systems and precision machinery, feels both utterly useless and potentially indispensable here. He instinctively scans his surroundings for anything familiar, any sign of logic in this historical chaos. The nearest canal is murky, filled with small, flat-bottomed boats propelled by oars or poles. The engineering of these vessels is basic, yet perfectly adapted to the watery environment. He wonders about their construction, the types of wood, the sealants. The hammering sound from earlier grows louder, pulling him towards it. He navigates a sharp turn, emerging into a wider, bustling street. Here, the clamor is immense. Vendors hawking wares, donkeys braying, children playing. But what truly captures his attention is a small workshop, its doors open, revealing a forge within. Sparks fly as a blacksmith works, shaping metal with powerful, deliberate strikes. He watches, fascinated by the brute force of the process, the lack of advanced tools he'd take for granted. The man's muscles ripple, the sweat gleaming on his skin. A simple water wheel turns nearby, a rudimentary power source for a grinding stone. Its gears wooden and exposed. It's an elegant, if primitive, solution to a fundamental mechanical problem. He sees the potential, the immense room for improvement, the countless ways his knowledge could revolutionize such an operation. Asterisk, Fondamenta asterisk. Overhead, the guttural roar of unfamiliar tongues, a cacophony of Venetian dialect, Greek, Arabic, and other mercantile languages, washes over him. A constant, impenetrable wall of sound. He shivers, despite the sun attempting to warm the cobblestones. His stomach, no longer churning with pure disorientation, now growls with a more familiar hunger. He's learned a few rudimentary gestures for bread and water, exchanging what little modern currency he still possesses for coarse sustenance from a wary vendor. His assumptions about universal systems of exchange or even simple hygiene have been brutally shattered. Water here is often murky, drawn from wells or rainwater cisterns, a far cry from the filtered tap he's accustomed to. He's learned to eye it with suspicion, and his body has begun to protest the unfamiliar bacteria. His engineer's eye, however, finds increasing fascination amidst the chaos. He spends hours near the bustling docks, observing the ceaseless activity. Great galleys, magnificent structures of wood and sail, are being loaded and unloaded. He sees teams of men, backs bent, hauling immense crates with simple ropes and pulleys. The mechanics are rudimentary, often inefficient, yet effective through sheer force of numbers. He notices the crude winches, the wear on the ropes, the leverage points that could be optimized with a few adjustments. His mind automatically calculates designs, envisions a better way, a more complex gear system, a stronger axle, a more balanced crane. But how to even begin to explain the concept of mechanical advantage or the properties of different alloys to these men, who communicate with shouts and raw gestures? One afternoon, he watches a group struggling to position a massive timber for a ship's hull. They push, strain, and curse, making slow, painful progress. He approaches carefully, gesturing towards a misplaced fulcrum, trying to demonstrate how a simple shift in the pivot point could save them immense effort. He mimes the principle, using a smaller log and a stone. The men eye him suspiciously, their expressions a mixture of confusion and mild irritation. One man, a burly shipwright with hands like mallets, barks a command he doesn't understand. But the meaning is clear. Stay out of the way. He retreats, frustrated by the language barrier, by the inability to share even the most basic mechanical insights that are second nature to him. His modern problem-solving methods, usually so precise and effective, feel like abstract theoretical concepts in this raw, physical world. He observes the wooden scaffolding around a building under construction, noting the ingenious interlocking joints, yet also the instability of some of the platforms. He thinks of stress loads, of tensile strength, of safety regulations that simply do not exist here. The constant risk of collapse, of injury, is an inherent part of this world. He sees a wheelbarrow, its wheel wobbly, its frame unbalanced, and yearns for his toolkit, for a simple wrench or a precise measurement. The tools here are basic: hammers, saws, chisels, all crafted through immense manual labor. The precision he's accustomed to is absent. As the week ends, he finds himself less shocked, more attuned to the rhythms of this ancient city. The ceaseless motion, the harsh sounds, the constant battle against grime and fatigue. His body aches from sleeping on hard surfaces, his throat raspy from the dusty air. He understands now that survival isn't just about finding food. It's about navigating a world where his most fundamental assumptions about progress and efficiency are utterly irrelevant, where his greatest asset, his knowledge, is locked behind a wall of incomprehension. A compromise he never imagined making. The fabric, while providing warmth against the perpetual Venetian chill, scratches and chafes, a constant, low-level irritation. It's a physical manifestation of his new reality, a world without soft cotton or synthetic blends, but even more profound is the aching absence of electric light. As dusk settles over the city, a profound, almost absolute darkness descends. The scattered oil lamps and flickering beeswax candles in windows and workshops cast dancing shadows, but offer only pools of weak illumination. He finds himself fumbling, his spatial awareness hampered, his ability to plan or even think clearly diminishing with the fading light. His modern mind, accustomed to working around the clock under bright, unwavering illumination, struggles to adapt to the hard stop that darkness imposes. His eyes ache from straining in the dimness, his internal clock completely upended. He'd spent parts of the week observing the various ways light was produced and managed. There were the animal fat lamps, crude and smoky, often smelling of tallow, used by poorer folk. Richer households might have beeswax candles, cleaner burning but precious. He saw intricate candelabras, ornate holders, yet the fundamental light source remained primitive. His engineer's brain immediately thinks of parabolic reflectors, of lenses to focus the light, of wicks made from different materials for better capillary action. He sketches rough designs in his mind, envisioning simple improvements that could multiply the effective light output with existing technology. One evening, observing a scribe struggling over a ledger by the weak glow of a single lamp, he felt a surge of professional frustration. The man squinted, leaning close, his work slow and meticulous. He imagined the eye strain, the limited hours of productivity. He pictures a simple, polished metal plate, curved just so, positioned behind the flame, reflecting and focusing the light forward. A minor adjustment, a basic principle of optics, yet it could make a significant difference. But how to craft such a reflector without the proper tools, or to explain its function to someone who has never conceived of light being asterisk, directed asterisk, rather than simply emitted? His technical vocabulary, his precise measurements, are useless here. He notices that the city's rhythm is dictated entirely by the sun. Work begins at dawn, reaches its peak by midday, and winds down dramatically as shadows lengthen. Major repairs, ship construction, and intricate crafts all cease with the setting sun, save for a few taverns or essential guardsmen with their torches. His internal desire to asterisk, do asterisk more, to asterisk think asterisk more, clashes with the physical limitations of this pre-industrial world. He finds himself going to bed earlier, waking with the first faint light, his body slowly, grudgingly, accepting this ancient circadian rhythm. The silence of the city at night, broken only by distant bells or the lapping of water, is a stark contrast to the hum of his former life. This week has been a lesson in resourcefulness, born of absolute necessity. He's learning to navigate by feel, to discern shapes in the encroaching gloom, to rely on his other senses. He realizes that the most fundamental technologies, light, warmth, clean water, are not guarantees, but hard-won achievements. The sheer lack of artificial illumination isn't just an inconvenience. It shapes lives, limits possibilities, and makes the simplest tasks monumental once the sun retreats. He feels the vast chasm between his world of infinite power and this one, where every watt of energy, every lumen of light, is a precious, finite commodity. A curious, sweet and tangy scent, like crushed berries mixed with something vaguely alcoholic, drew him this week, cutting through the usual damp and fishy air of the Venetian marketplace. It was a new aroma, vibrant and intriguing, pulling him deeper into the throng of merchants and citizens. He navigated around a group of gossiping women, their colorful headscarves a blur, until he found its source. It was a street vendor, a grizzled man with powerful forearms, operating what could only be described as a rudimentary press. He was crushing grapes or some local fruit for a drink, perhaps *mosto*, a form of unfermented wine popular in the region. The machine itself was a marvel of rough-hewn practicality. A massive wooden screw, thick and imperfectly threaded, rose from a heavy base. A crossbeam serving as a lever attached to the screw, and as the vendor turned it with grunts of effort, a heavy wooden plate slowly descended into a vat below, squeezing the pulpy fruit. Juice, thick and purple, trickled into a collection trough at the bottom. His engineering mind, always seeking efficiency and optimization, immediately went to work. He observed the tremendous friction in the coarse wooden threads, the wasted energy in each rotation. The lever arm was too short, demanding excessive force from the vendor. He could see the stress points in the frame, the potential for splintering wood. Yet, despite its crudeness, the fundamental principles were all there: the inclined plane of the screw, the leverage of the bar, the application of pressure. It was a basic screw press, a design that had existed for centuries. But for him, it was a living, breathing diagram of mechanical physics, stripped down to its barest form. He watched for a long time, a flicker of bewildered recognition crossing his face. This wasn't some complex hydraulic system or a precision-engineered gear train, but it was mechanics, the ingenuity of it, born of necessity and limited resources, resonated with him. He mentally re-engineered it. A metal screw for less friction, a longer, counterweighted lever for greater mechanical advantage, perhaps even a simple gear system to multiply the turning force. He imagined the precise measurements, the selection of materials, the machining processes that would make it 10 times more efficient. He found himself unconsciously tensing his fingers, imagining holding a wrench, making those adjustments. The vendor, noticing his intense gaze, offered him a small cup of the sweet, cloudy liquid. He accepted it. The cold, tangy juice a startling sensory experience amidst his internal mechanical musings. He smiled, a genuine, if somewhat awkward, smile, and gestured approval. For the first time, he felt a tangible connection to the practical applications of his craft in this world, even if it was a connection across centuries. This week has shown him that while the sophistication of the world may have changed dramatically, the underlying mechanical truths, the basic needs for force, leverage, and motion, remained universal. He saw a pathway, however narrow, to apply his understanding, not with modern tools, but with the fundamental principles he knew by heart. The against his cheek, the incessant lapping of water against the foundations, usually a background hum, now sounds like a relentless, mocking whisper, echoing the chilling thought that has finally solidified in his mind. There is no escape, only this gritty, unyielding reality. His engineer's mind, always seeking solutions, has meticulously, almost desperately, analyzed his predicament over the past weeks. He's assessed the technology, the modes of travel, the complete lack of communication systems spanning vast distances. He's observed the slow, arduous journeys of ships, which take months to cross seas, their destinations known, but the journey itself a perilous uncertainty. There are no maps as he knows them, no precise navigation, no concept of the distant continent he called home. His modern assumptions about finding a way back, about a hidden portal or a rescue mission, have withered into dust under the harsh, unblinking sun of the 14th century. He closes his eyes, trying to conjure images of his old life, the hum of his computer, the smooth ride of a car, the familiar faces. But the sounds of Venice, the distant shouts of hawkers, the creak of oars, the chime of a faraway bell intrude, pulling him back, the smells of salt, stale fish, and damp stone are too real, too immediate. He traces the rough patterns in the stone with his fingertips, feeling the ancient cold, recognizing the permanence of it. His knowledge, once a source of pride and capability, now feels like a heavy, useless burden. How can you engineer a way out of time itself? He spent days walking, deliberately seeking the edges of this island city, looking for any sign, any anomaly. But there was only the lagoon, stretching endlessly, dotted with smaller islands, and the occasional fishing boat, all bound by the same slow, physical reality. He saw the Grand Canal, a bustling highway of commerce. Yet every vessel was a wooden construct, propelled by human or wind power. No engines, no electricity, no signals beyond flares and shouts. The sheer scale of the pre-industrial world, its vastness and slowness, pressed down on him with a physical weight. His thoughts turn from escape to pure survival. The immediate, practical problems loom larger than ever. How to earn a crust of bread, how to find warmth in the coming colder months, how to simply exist without becoming an outcast or drawing dangerous attention. His mind, accustomed to optimizing systems, now struggles to optimize his own life in the most basic sense. This week has stripped away any lingering hope, replacing it with a stark, undeniable truth. The future he knew is gone. His existence is now tethered to this time, this place, and the relentless, gritty present. He feels the immense isolation, not just from his home, but from his entire epoch, and he realizes that true adaptation will mean letting go of the past, utterly and completely. Each time he hefts it, the raw wood grates against his skin, pushing him past the threshold of discomfort into a dull, persistent ache. The air around him on the docks is thick with the scent of pine and oak dust, mingled with the brine from the lagoon and the metallic tang of sweat. His hands, once soft from blueprints and keyboards, are now raw and forming calluses, a testament to the new, unforgiving rhythm of his days. He's found work, paid meagerly in coarse bread and small copper coins, among the dockworkers of the Arsenal, Venice's famed shipyard. His height and strength, combined with a persistent, if awkward, willingness, eventually swayed a foreman. The work is backbreaking, hauling timber, moving massive barrels of pitch, and rigging ropes for the immense galleys under construction. He's surrounded by the constant clatter of tools, the shouts of men, and the creak of strained wood. His engineer's mind, always active, observes every movement, every lift, every strain. He sees the inefficiencies, the wasted effort, the sheer physical toll. One afternoon, a team struggles with a particularly heavy mast, attempting to lever it into position using only brute force and too short, poorly placed wooden bars. The men grunt, their faces red with exertion, making little progress. He watches, his internal calculations running. He sees the perfect fulcrum point, a slight indentation in the stone floor, and a longer, sturdier piece of discarded timber nearby that would offer far better leverage. He moves cautiously, approaching the group. He points to the timber, then to the spot on the ground, then mimes the action of prying the mast with the longer lever. The lead dockworker, a grizzled man with powerful shoulders and an eye patch, narrows his gaze, suspicious of the newcomer's unsolicited advice. He barks something unintelligible. Undeterred, he picks up the longer timber, positions it, and with a grunt, demonstrates the principle. He exerts a fraction of the force the others were using, and the massive mast shifts several inches, sliding smoothly. The dockworker's eyes widen slightly. He stands there for a moment, observing the result, then slowly, a deep, silent breath, a barely perceptible dip of his head, a grudging nod. It's not an invitation, not a smile, but it's acceptance, a silent acknowledgement of a practical, undeniable truth. He spends the rest of the week continuing the heavy labor, his body protesting at every turn. But now, occasionally, a glance or a gesture from the others indicates a subtle shift in their perception. They haven't asked him to explain anything or changed their methods dramatically, but a seed of trust, of utility, has been planted. The ache in his shoulders is profound, a constant companion, yet amidst the physical exhaustion, there's a quiet sense of accomplishment. He realizes that in this world, Knowledge isn't power until it translates into tangible, observable relief from toil. His worth is not in his abstract understanding, but in the sweat and ingenuity that lightens another man's load, however small. The groaning creak of a simple wooden pump becomes the backdrop to his days this week. A constant, irritating complaint against the usual sounds of the docks. It's accompanied by the damp, earthy smell of the water it strains to draw, often mixed with a faint, metallic tang. He's noticed it near a small merchant storage area, used for fetching water for cleaning or perhaps ballast. Every pull on its long lever demands excessive effort from the young boy tasked with operating it, who strains and sweats with each reluctant gush of water. He's still laboring as a dock worker, his muscles now accustomed to the relentless physical strain. His calloused hands a testament to his new profession, but his eyes, the engineer's eyes, constantly scan for mechanical problems, for inefficiencies that scream for a solution. The pump's struggle gnaws at him. It's a basic piston pump, a wooden cylinder with a leather-sealed piston, operated by a simple lever. He can tell, even from a distance, that its mechanism is sticking. Perhaps a dried-out leather seal or a misaligned pivot. The wasted energy in each agonizing pump stroke is almost palpable. One morning, watching the boy wrestle with the pump, he feels an urge he can no longer ignore. He approaches carefully, gesturing towards the creaking mechanism. He points to the piston rod, then to the lever, making a winding motion with his hand, indicating friction. The boy, startled, looks up at him with wide, cautious eyes. An older man, presumably the merchant, emerges from the storage area, scowling at the interruption. He gestures, miming the pump working smoothly, then points to the sticking parts, then holds up a hand, indicating he could help. The merchant eyes him, then the struggling boy, then the pump, a flicker of irritation, then reluctant curiosity crossing his face. He gives a curt nod. He fetches a small pot of animal fat, left nearby for greasing wagon axles, and a few scraps of hardened leather he'd found. With meticulous precision, using a crude knife and a flat stone he'd adopted as a makeshift tool, he carves a more pliable, better-fitting washer from the leather. He works methodically, applying a generous amount of grease to the piston and the lever's pivot points. He adjusts the worn wooden connecting rod, shimming it slightly with a small, flat piece of wood to reduce lateral play. His movements are purposeful, his engineer's hands remembering the finesse required for such small but critical adjustments. He replaces the parts, then gives the lever a tentative push. Instead of the groaning creak and violent shudder, the pump now moves with a satisfyingly smoother, almost silent action. With another push, water gushes forth, freely, effortlessly. The boy stares, then tries it himself, a look of profound surprise and relief spreading across his face. The merchant watches, his scowl softening into a look of genuine astonishment. He steps forward, then reaches into a small pouch on his belt, pulling out 3 small, gleaming copper coins. He presses them into his hand, a silent but clear gesture of gratitude and payment. He feels the unexpected weight of the coins in his palm, a tangible validation. It's not just bread now. This week has shown him that his insight, his knack for improving simple machines, carries a value beyond mere physical labor. He understands that this ability, though small in its application, can be his currency, his pathway to establishing a place in this stubbornly ancient world. He is not just a dockworker, but someone who understands the hidden logic of things, a practical wizard in a world of brute force. The warm, yeasty scent of freshly baked coarse bread is a comforting anchor this week, a simple pleasure amidst the ever-present damp and salt air. He sits on the worn steps of a fondamenta asterisk, sharing a loaf with the young boy from the pump, a silent offering of thanks for the previous week's repair. The water laps softly against the canal walls, a gentle soundtrack to their shared, quiet meal. The boy occasionally points to something, offering a guttural sound he doesn't understand, but his enthusiasm is clear. He's beginning to pick up fragments of the Venetian dialect, not through formal instruction, but through constant immersion and the boy's patient, repetitive gestures. Aqua for water, pan for bread, grazy for thanks. The sounds are rough, clipped, and full of unfamiliar inflections. But each new word is a tiny key, unlocking a sliver of understanding. He tries to mimic the sounds, his modern tongue clumsy and foreign, earning a patient smile from the boy. His frustration at the language barrier is slowly yielding to a quiet determination. He spends his days alternating between heavy labor on the docks and seeking out small mechanical problems, his newfound reputation as a fixer slowly spreading. He's helped mend a stubborn cartwheel, tightened the mechanism on a loom in a small textile workshop, and even advised on the optimal placement of a counterweight for a simple crane. Each small success builds confidence, both his own and that of the people he interacts with. They still view him with a certain wariness, an outsider with strange habits, but the tangible results of his work speak louder than any words he might try to utter. His skills are proving to be his true language. One afternoon, a fisherman approaches him, gesturing wildly towards his small boat. The rudder mechanism, a simple pivot, has jammed, making it impossible to steer effectively. He kneels by the boat, examining the crude wooden parts. The pivot point is swollen with water, the wood binding against itself. He indicates the need for a lubricant and a way to reduce the friction. He mimes shaving down the wood, greasing the joint, and then using a strong, flexible piece of animal hide to create a more resilient bearing. The fisherman watches, his brow furrowed, then nods slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. Together they work, the fisherman finding the materials, and him guiding the adjustments with precise gestures. The rudder, once stiff and defiant, now moves with relative ease. The fisherman claps him on the shoulder, a rough, friendly gesture, and then holds up a small, freshly caught fish. A silent payment, warm and smelling of the sea. As the sun sets, casting long shadows across the canal, he sits again by the water, the small fish wrapped in a leaf, a meager but earned meal. He looks at his hands, no longer just calloused, but stained with pitch and wood dust. His modern assumptions about communication, about the need for shared language, are slowly dissolving. He realizes that basic human connection, built on shared effort and practical solutions, can transcend even the most profound linguistic barriers. This week, he's learned that while words may be foreign, the language of helpfulness, of competence, is universal. He is not just surviving. He is slowly, painstakingly, becoming a part of this world, one gesture, one fix, one shared piece of bread at a time. The scent of sawdust and fresh-cut timber is particularly strong this week, mingling with the metallic tang of an active forge and the ever-present damp air. He finds himself drawn to a busier part of the arsenal, where skilled craftsmen work on intricate components for ships and other civic structures. The cacophony of hammering, sawing, and scraping is almost musical to his engineer's ears, a symphony of creation. He's observing a master carpenter, a man with a weathered face and powerful hands, struggling to lift a heavy timber beam onto a raised workbench. The carpenter uses a short, stout piece of wood as a lever, grunting and straining, making slow, arduous progress. Two apprentices watch, ready to assist, but the sheer weight of the beam defies their combined efforts. He can see the strain in the carpenter's back, the inefficiency of the method. His mind immediately calculates the optimal fulcrum point, the ideal length for the lever arm. Approaching cautiously, he gathers a few small sticks and stones from the ground nearby. He places a larger stone as a fulcrum, then uses a longer stick to demonstrate the principle of leverage. He presses down lightly on one end of the stick, effortlessly lifting a smaller stone on the other. He then moves the fulcrum closer to the small stone, showing how much more force is required. Then he slides the fulcrum further away, closer to his hand, demonstrating the ease with which the stone can be lifted with a longer lever arm. He points to the carpenter's short lever, then to the longer stick, then back to the heavy timber. The carpenter, initially dismissive, watches the simple demonstration with a growing curiosity. His brow furrows, then smooths as the basic physics become apparent through the visual aid. He gestures to one of his apprentices, who fetches a longer, more substantial piece of timber. He watches as the carpenter positions it, mimicking his demonstration with the sticks and stones, with the longer lever and the fulcrum placed correctly. The heavy beam rises onto the workbench with significantly less effort than before. The carpenter lets out a grunt, not of strain, but of surprise and dawning understanding. He looks at him, then back at the timber, then a slow, deliberate nod. A spark of genuine interest, not just a grudging acceptance, flickers in his eyes. He spends the rest of the week assisting in various small ways, applying his understanding of basic mechanics to common tasks. He demonstrates how to use a wedge more effectively, how to brace a structure to prevent wobbling, how to distribute weight more evenly when hauling. His communications are still largely nonverbal, a dance of gestures, points, and simple demonstrations, but the craftsman's initial surprise has blossomed into a curious engagement. He even attempts a few Venetian words, pointing to the lever and making the sound asterisk forza asterisk, meaning strength, then gesturing to the fulcrum and making the sound asterisk iudo asterisk for help or aid. This week has been a profound shift. He's moved beyond merely fixing broken things to actively teaching, albeit silently, the fundamental principles of his craft. He realizes that the most powerful tools he possesses are not physical objects, but the foundational laws of physics. His modern assumptions about the complexity of innovation are being challenged. Sometimes the greatest leaps come from simply articulating, in a visible way, what is already instinctively felt. He is no longer just an anonymous laborer, but a man who can show others how to make their hard lives a little easier, earning not just coins, but a nascent respect. Arsenal, tucked away amongst piles of discarded timber and broken tools, a crude wooden gear mechanism, likely from a broken winch, or perhaps a rudimentary pump. The gears themselves are clunky, carved from heavy wood, their teeth worn and chipped, some entirely missing. The whole assembly is stiff, resisting movement with a stubborn, silent protest. His engineer's eye is immediately drawn to its flaws. The axles are simply thick wooden pegs, rotating in unlined holes, causing immense friction. The gear teeth don't mesh properly, a testament to imprecise carving and warping from moisture. The ratios are uneven, creating jerking motion rather than smooth transfer of power for someone accustomed to precision-machined steel and ball bearings. It's a rough, almost barbaric piece of engineering. Yet, the fundamental concept of converting rotation and transmitting force is undeniably present. A primitive ancestor of the complex systems he once designed. He decides, without a clear purpose beyond the engineer's inherent drive to fix things, to salvage it. He spends his breaks and the quiet hours after his dock work meticulously cleaning the components. He uses a rough cloth and sand to scour away the rust from the few metal bands, and a smaller, sharper carving tool, borrowed from the carpenter he'd helped, to carefully reshape the worn wooden teeth. He works slowly, his fingers aching from the unfamiliar tools, his movements guided by the ingrained principles of geometry and force transfer. He improvises bushings from scraps of tough leather, cut and greased, to reduce friction on the axles. It's a painstaking process, requiring patience he didn't know he possessed. He observes the careful work of the clockmakers he sometimes passes. Their intricate metal gears a world away from his crude wooden components. He understands the profound impact such precise gear trains have on timekeeping. A discipline where even a tiny improvement could revolutionize navigation and commerce. His small, salvaged mechanism is far from that, but it teaches him the limitations and potential of the materials around him. He learns the grain of the wood, how it splits, how it holds grease, how much force it can withstand before breaking. Finally, after days of dedicated effort, the mechanism is reassembled. He applies a generous dollop of animal fat to all the moving parts. He takes hold of the main axle, his calloused fingers wrapping around the rough wood, and gives it a tentative turn. Instead of the grinding resistance and sharp creaks, there's a surprisingly smooth rotation. A quiet asterisk, clack, 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 asterisk, as the newly reshaped teeth engage. The movement is fluid, efficient, no longer battling itself. He gives a slow, deep nod of satisfaction. An apprentice, sweeping nearby, pauses, his head cocked, listening to the new, quieter rhythm. He glances over, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes, then a slight, almost imperceptible widening as he sees the salvaged gears turn with ease. He returns to his sweeping, but the moment of shared observation is clear. This week has been a quiet, personal triumph. He recognizes that true innovation in this time isn't about grand, sweeping inventions, but about incremental, observable improvements that make daily toil a little less brutal. He's not building a future, but subtly reshaping the present, one functional gear at a time. Becomes the dominant soundscape this week. It's not a cacophony, but a coordinated symphony of industry, echoing across the vast expanse of the Venetian arsenale. The air is thick with the scent of pine pitch, brine, fresh-cut oak, and the sharp, coppery tang of ironwork. A rich, complex perfume of creation that speaks of immense, coordinated effort. He moves through the sprawling complex, no longer just a dock worker, but a more frequent, if still silent, observer. His reputation as a fixer has granted him a bit more latitude, allowing him to wander past the primary hauling areas into the specialized workshops. His engineer's mind, always seeking patterns and systems, now perceives the arsenal not as a collection of individual tasks, but as an immense, living machine. He sees the flow of materials, raw timber arriving by canal, moving to shaping yards, then to the dry docks where hulls are laid. Rope walks stretch endlessly, where men twist fibers into strong cords. Foundries glow red-hot, turning raw iron into nails and fittings. This was, for the 14th century, an industrial marvel. He recognizes the principles of division of labor and specialized workstations, almost like a primitive assembly line, allowing Venice to build entire galleys in remarkably short periods, sometimes in weeks rather than months, a feat unparalleled in Europe. He marvels at the implicit, unwritten engineering that governs this massive operation. There are no Gantt charts or computer simulations, but an intuitive understanding of process and logistics that ensures a constant, efficient output. He watches the arsenalati asterisk, the skilled workers, each a master of their specific craft, moving with purposeful efficiency, their movements honed by generations of practice. He sees an apprentice struggling with a cumbersome block and tackle system, trying to hoist a small sail. The ropes bind, the pulleys squeak. He approaches, making a few swift, precise adjustments to the rope's alignment, and greasing a sticking axle with a dab of fat. The apprentice, after a moment of surprise, pulls the rope again, and the sail rises with far less effort. A small gesture, a quiet correction, but it smooths the flow of work, contributing to the greater rhythm. He observes the massive cranes, powered by treadmills operated by men, their wooden gears groaning but reliable. He understands their limitations, but also their profound effectiveness in a world without steam or electricity. His modern assumptions about efficiency, once rooted in automated processes, are being redefined by the sheer human ingenuity and organized effort he witnesses. The scale and coordination, even with basic tools, is astounding. He finds a quiet satisfaction in understanding the subtle, intricate dance of this industrious heart, where thousands of hands work in concert, a testament to collective human power. This week, he's not just observing a shipyard. He's beginning to comprehend the fundamental engineering of an entire empire built on precise logistics and the mechanical advantage of a well-organized workforce. The city isn't just built on water. It's built on meticulously planned, human-powered industry. The rich, earthy smell of local wine, mingled with the smoky warmth of a brazier, wraps around him this week, a surprising comfort that cuts through the ever-present damp of the Venetian evening. He feels the rough wood of the bench beneath him, the heavy ceramic cup in his hand, its surface cool, then warming as it fills. It's a profound shift from the isolation he's known, a quiet invitation into a circle of men he now considers, however nascently, his colleagues. He sits in a bustling osteria, a small tavern near the Arsenal, with the carpenter he'd helped and a few other dockworkers. The cacophony of their Venetian dialect is still largely incomprehensible, a rapid fire of sounds and gestures. But tonight, the tone is different. It's lighter, punctuated by boisterous exclamations and the rising swell of shared laughter. He's offered a cup, a generous pour of crude, dark red wine that tastes of the sun-drenched Italian soil. He sips it, the unfamiliar sweetness and slight acidity a pleasant shock to his palate. He watches their faces, the crinkles around their eyes, the easy camaraderie in their movements. He smiles, a genuine, unforced expression, and lifts his cup in a gesture he hopes conveys thanks and acceptance. The carpenter, a man named Marco, whose gruff exterior has slowly softened, points to his cup, then to him, and says a string of words that sounds like a question. He shrugs, a gesture of incomprehension. Marco laughs, a deep, rumbling sound, then points to himself, says Marco, then points to him, waiting. He repeats his own name, David, clumsily. The others echo it, trying out the foreign sound, some with a laugh, others with a slow, careful pronunciation. It's a small exchange, but it feels like a bridge, one brick laid at a time across the vast chasm of language. They pantomime a story of a difficult hoist at the docks, and he laughs with them, understanding the universal language of physical comedy and shared hardship. His engineer's eye, even in this relaxed setting, notices the solid, no-nonsense construction of the tavern, the heavy beams, the thick, unadorned tables, the simple but sturdy wooden chairs. He sees the brazier, expertly crafted to contain its heat, warming the room efficiently. He imagines the engineering of the wine barrels, the cooperage, the methods for fermentation. He finds himself tracing the patterns of wear on the wooden floor, observing the flow of people, the implied logic in the placement of the tables to maximize space. His modern mind can't entirely turn off its analytical gaze, but tonight it's softened by the human element. Later, as the evening winds down, Marco claps him on the shoulder, a firm, friendly squeeze, and points to the door. He rises, feeling the pleasant buzz of the wine and the warmth that has nothing to do with the brazier. The cold Venetian air outside feels less biting than before. His shoulders are still tired from a day of heavy labor, but the mental fatigue, the gnawing loneliness, has receded significantly. This week, he's discovered that companionship, however basic the communication, is a powerful antidote to the profound alienation of time travel. He is no longer just an anomaly in a foreign land. He is becoming, however slowly, a part of its human fabric. The sharp, clean scent of fine metal, mixed with a faint, oily fragrance of ancient lubricant, is a subtle but distinct presence this week. It emanates from a small workshop he passes often, its door usually ajar, revealing a dim interior. Inside, a master craftsman and his apprentices work with a quiet intensity, their movements precise and deliberate. He's been drawn to it for weeks, intrigued by the intricate work, so different from the rough carpentry and blacksmithing of the arsenal. This week, his curiosity finally pulls him closer. He sees, through the doorway, a collection of gears and levers far more refined than any he's encountered so far. They are parts of a large public clock, perhaps from a church tower, brought in for maintenance or repair. He observes the craftsman, a man with spectacles perched on his nose, carefully filing a brass cog, his movements steady and practiced. His engineer's heart beats a little faster. This is different. This is precision. He watches, mesmerized, as the craftsman assembles a portion of the mechanism. The brass gears, though hand-cut, mesh with surprising accuracy. The escapement, the intricate system of levers and weights that regulates the clock's movement, is a wonder of medieval ingenuity. He notes the careful balancing of the pendulum, the heavy lead weights that provide the constant power source. His modern assumptions about medieval engineering being uniformly crude are being shattered. This is complex, elegant, and deeply intelligent work. He sees the craftsmanship in the delicate springs, the finely wrought hands, the robust frame designed to hold it all together for decades, centuries even. He recognizes the underlying principles immediately. Energy transfer, oscillation, friction management, precise timing. His modern training provides him with the theoretical framework, but seeing it manifest in hand-forged brass and painstakingly carved would instills a new, profound respect. He realizes the sheer intellectual effort, the countless hours of trial and error, the deep understanding of materials and mechanics required to conceive and build such a device without the aid of calculus, computer models, or standardized parts. The craftsmen here are not just artisans, they are early scientists, applying empirical knowledge to solve complex mechanical problems. The clockmaker looks up, catching his eye. Instead of the usual wary glance, there's a flicker of professional recognition. He sees the engineer's focused gaze, his evident understanding. He gestures, a silent invitation to observe closer. He steps into the workshop, feeling the chill of the stone floor, the warmth of human industry. He leans in, examining a specific gear, marveling at the intricate tooth profile. He points to a worn pivot, then mimes a smoother movement, a silent suggestion. The clockmaker nods slowly, his lips pursed in thought, then gestures towards a small, heavy pendulum, its steady swing a testament to the meticulous work. This week has been a powerful lesson in humility and admiration. His initial condescension towards primitive technology has dissolved, replaced by a deep appreciation for the ingenuity of these medieval engineers. He understands now that while their tools and methods were limited, their minds were sharp, their understanding of fundamental mechanics profound. He realizes that true engineering transcends eras and technologies. It is an innate human drive to understand, to build, and to improve. He feels a quiet sense of kinship with these distant predecessors, recognizing in their meticulous work the same passion for precision that drove him in his own time. The echoing scent of frankincense and beeswax fills the cool, cavernous space this week, a profound contrast to the usual smells of the docks and workshops. He steps through a heavy, ancient wooden door, propelled by a sudden, unbidden urge for quiet, for something beyond the ceaseless mechanical hum of his new existence. The light inside is muted, stained glass windows filtering the harsh Venetian sun into shifting mosaics of color. He finds himself in a basilica, one of the many grand churches of Venice. His engineer's mind, usually focused on function and efficiency, is momentarily silenced. He looks up, and a gasp catches in his throat. Golden light, streaming through high windows, illuminates vast frescoes painted across the domed ceilings and arched walls. Figures of saints and angels, rendered in brilliant blues, deep reds, and shimmering golds, seem to float above him. The sheer scale, the intricate detail, the vibrant colors that have endured for centuries, it's overwhelming. He slowly walks down the aisle, his eyes tracking the painted narratives. The smooth, cool marble beneath his calloused feet is a stark physical contrast to the rough cobblestones outside. The air is still, almost reverent, broken only by the distant murmur of chanting or the soft shuffling of a few other visitors. He stops, tilting his head back, his neck aching slightly, to take in the full panorama. He sees the engineering in the soaring arches, the immense buttresses supporting the weight of the stone and paint, the meticulous geometry that allows such grand structures to stand for so long. But beyond the structural marvel, there is a beauty that defies all his analytical frameworks. His modern mind, accustomed to digital images and mass-produced art, struggles to process the raw, unadulterated artistry before him. He thinks of the pigments, painstakingly ground from minerals, the brushes made from animal hair, the years of dedicated labor by unknown artists, all to create something of such breathtaking scale and enduring impact. He sees the careful use of perspective, the way light is rendered, the emotional depth conveyed through painted faces. It is a profound, unexpected beauty, a world away from the gears and levers that define his waking hours. It touches something deep within him, something beyond logic or efficiency. He sits on a cold stone bench, letting the golden light wash over him, feeling the ancient stories painted above. He thinks of the people who worshipped here centuries ago, their lives perhaps as harsh and demanding as his own now, finding solace and inspiration in this grandeur. His assumptions about the solely functional nature of past societies are challenged. This wasn't just about survival. It was about aspiration, faith, and the creation of something transcendent. As the light shifts and the golden hues begin to fade, he feels a quiet sense of awe. This week has introduced him to a dimension of this historical world he hadn't anticipated its soul. He realizes that while he focuses on improving the physical world, on making things work better asterisk, there is another, equally powerful human drive to create beauty asterisk, to inspire wonder, to uplift the spirit. He is an engineer, but in this moment, surrounded by the echoes of a different kind of genius, he is simply a man, struck by the profound, universal human capacity for art. The insistent, high-pitched whine of a misaligned saw blade cutting through green timber is the predominant sound this week, a grating irritant that sets his teeth on edge. It comes from the carpentry workshop, where he now spends most of his days, having slowly transitioned from dock labor to more specialized assistance. The air is thick with the sweet, resinous scent of freshly cut wood, but the wrongness of the sound mars the otherwise pleasant aroma. He is no longer a silent observer. His rudimentary Venetian has improved, a patchwork of borrowed words and intuitive gestures, enough to convey basic instructions and observations. The carpenter Marco now seeks out his input, often pointing to a problem or demonstrating a difficult task, watching his reactions. He's become less of an oddity and more of a useful, if still mysterious, asset. His ability to instinctively spot mechanical flaws, and suggest practical improvements has earned him a grudging but undeniable place. This week, Marco introduces him to a new apprentice, a gangly, nervous youth named Paolo. No older than 12, Paolo struggles with basic tasks, his movements clumsy, his understanding of leverage and force minimal. He watches the boy attempt to plane a rough piece of wood, exerting immense, wasted effort, the tool chattering and skipping across the surface. He sees the frustration in Paolo's eyes, the fear of making a mistake. He recognizes it from his own early days in this world, grappling with unfamiliar realities. He approaches Paolo, a reassuring presence. He takes a smooth, unfinished piece of wood and a small, sharp chisel. He demonstrates, slowly, precisely, how to hold the tool, the angle of attack, the controlled pressure needed for a clean cut. He emphasizes the follow-through, the smooth, rhythmic motion. He points to the grain of the wood, explaining through gestures that understanding its natural direction makes the work easier. He repeats the action several times, his hands guiding Paolo's, feeling the boy's initial stiffness gradually relax into a more fluid movement. He speaks a few simple Venetian words, asterisk lissio asterisk, smooth, piano asterisk, slowly his voice calm and encouraging. Later, he guides Paolo in sharpening a dull axe. He shows him the correct angle for the whetstone, the rhythmic backhand-forth motion, the precise feel of the metal as it begins to bite and keen. He emphasizes the importance of a sharp edge, not just for efficiency, but for safety. He can see the young apprentice's confidence growing, his movements becoming more deliberate, less anxious. He feels a subtle shift within himself, a quiet satisfaction that transcends merely solving a problem. As the week progresses, he finds himself teaching more, correcting less. Paolo looks to him for guidance, his small, earnest face upturned, absorbing every gesture, every slow word. He no longer feels like an outcast, a temporal anomaly. Instead, a sense of purpose, deep and grounding, takes root. This week, he's realized that his role isn't just to adapt to this past, but perhaps, in small, almost imperceptible ways, to help shape its future. He is a teacher, a mentor, anchoring himself to this new reality by passing on knowledge, even if it's only the foundational truths he already knows. He is no longer just David, the displaced engineer. He is David, the craftsman, the guide, finding his place not just by existing, but by contributing. He smells the raw effort, the metallic scent of sweat, and the sharp tang of freshly splintered wood. On one of the larger construction sites in the Arsenal, a vital pulley system has broken, forcing workers to revert to manual hauling. The sight of their back-breaking toil, amplified by the inefficiency, gnaws at him. A massive stone block, intended for a ship's keel, lies half lifted, suspended precariously. The pulley, a crude assembly of wood and thick rope, hangs uselessly, its axle snapped, its wooden wheel cracked down the middle. Without it, a team of 6 men struggles with ropes, trying to manually lift and position the enormous weight. Their faces are red with exertion, their muscles trembling, their progress agonizingly slow. He sees the frustration, the physical agony, the sheer wasted human energy. His engineer's mind screams at the inefficiency, at the danger. He walks closer, observing the broken parts. The wooden axle, simply a thicker peg, has sheared under the immense load. The wheel, carved from a single piece of oak, has cracked along a natural fault line in the grain. He immediately envisions modern solutions, hardened steel axles, composite materials, a system of multiple pulleys to distribute the load, or even a differential hoist. These solutions burn bright in his mind, clear as day, a stark contrast to the primitive reality before him. He approaches Marco, the head carpenter, who supervises the struggling men. He points to the broken pulley, then gestures to the snapped axle, then sketches in the dust with his finger, drawing a hollow cylinder and a solid rod, indicating a stronger design, perhaps a metal sleeve to reinforce the wood. He then draws a series of circles, linked by lines, trying to convey the idea of a block, and tackle with more sheaves, multiplying the mechanical advantage. He uses the Venetian word asterisk, più forza asterisk, more strength, and points to the men, then makes a gesture indicating less effort. Marco watches, his brow furrowed, his expression unreadable. He picks up a piece of the broken axle, examining it. He seems to understand the concept of a stronger axle, the need for better material, but the idea of multiple pulleys, of a complex system to further reduce effort, seems to bewilder him. His modern assumptions about the ready availability of material steel, bearings, high-strength rope, are a cruel joke in this age of wood and limited iron. He can design a better pulley, a superior hoist, but the materials to construct it simply don't exist here in the necessary quality or quantity. He spends the rest of the week assisting with the manual haulage, his own body aching, but his mind churning with a new kind of frustration. It's not just the inability to communicate, it's the profound limitation of available resources. He can see the solutions, but he can't manifest them. He realizes that true engineering in this era isn't just about knowing asterisk how asterisk things work, but about knowing what can be made with the hands, the tools, and the materials available. This week, the stark reality of technological constraint has truly hit home. His knowledge is a vast ocean, but the channels to apply it are shallow, narrow, and often non-existent. he feels a powerful longing for a scrap of modern metal, for even a simple ball bearing, to ease the burden of these men. The are built to mind. His fingers, now calloused and adept with medieval tools, itch with the theoretical solutions to every inefficient process he witnesses. He spends his days in the carpentry workshop, assisting Marco and guiding Paolo. He's earned a small cot and regular meals, a basic comfort he hadn't known weeks ago. But his mind is never truly at rest. He observes the massive cranes in the arsenale, powered by teams of men on treadmills, hoisting heavy masts. He knows, with absolute certainty, how to design a more efficient system of gears, a block and tackle that could have the manpower required. He mentally sketches friction-reducing bearings from tough, greased wood, and imagines compound pulley systems that could lift immense weights with relative ease. He sees how the rudimentary water wheels turning grinding stones could be improved, how a simple cam mechanism could automate repetitive tasks. A whisper of ambition begins to stir, a potent mix of professional pride and a desire to truly help these hardworking people. He could make their lives so much easier, so much less physically demanding. He could accelerate Venice's shipbuilding, enhance its industrial capacity, perhaps even influence the very course of its mercantile empire. The possibilities as an engineer are intoxicating. He feels the power of his knowledge, a responsibility and a temptation wrapped into one. But then, the quiet, unsettling questions begin to surface. He recalls the broken pulley, the men struggling. What would happen if a single, more efficient crane replaced 6 workers? Would their gratitude outweigh their sudden unemployment? Venice's Arsenalati are a powerful, proud guild, their livelihoods tied to their specialized crafts and the established ways. Innovation, especially one that displaces labor, could be seen not as a gift, but as a threat. He remembers stories from his own time of industries collapsing, of communities uprooted by technological advancement. The butterfly effect, a concept foreign to this era, weighs heavily on his conscience. A tiny change now could ripple across centuries, altering battles, inventions, and the lives of millions in ways he could never predict. He finds himself watching the faces of the workers, the subtle expressions of weary pride, the camaraderie forged in shared toil. He sees the social fabric, tightly woven by centuries of tradition and hierarchy, his modern assumptions about progress as an inherent good clash with the potential for widespread disruption. One afternoon, he discreetly sketches a more advanced gear ratio in the dirt, then quickly scuffs it away with his foot, a sudden fear of discovery chilling him. As the week ends, he sits by the canal, listening to the familiar sounds of the city, feeling the cool stone against his back. The temptation to unleash his knowledge, to fix this world, remains powerful, yet a deeper understanding of the societal mechanisms at play gives him pause. He realizes that introducing a superior design isn't just an engineering problem. It's a social, economic, and ethical one. His power to innovate comes with a heavy burden of responsibility, forcing him to choose between the obvious technical advantage and the unpredictable, potentially devastating human cost. He is an engineer, but now he must also be a hesitant, cautious guardian of history. The incessant, repetitive asterisk, clack, clack, asterisk of a hand loom. A sound he knows intimately from the small textile workshops he occasionally passes, drills into his thoughts this week. It's accompanied by the dry, dusty scent of wool and linen fibers, a constant reminder of the arduous, manual labor involved in creating fabric. He feels the faint vibrations even from a distance, the mechanical rhythm of slow, human-powered production. He spends his nights in his small, borrowed cot, illuminated by a single flickering oil lamp, meticulously sketching. Not on paper, a precious commodity, but on a smooth piece of salvaged timber, etched with a blunt nail. He's designing a more efficient loom. He envisions a flying shuttle, a mechanism that would allow a single weaver to propel the shuttle across the warp threads with a pull of a cord, drastically increasing weaving speed and width. He also considers a more sophisticated treadle system, reducing the physical strain on the weaver. He sketches the cams, the levers, the precise movements, all designed to leverage existing materials and simple physics. His engineer's mind finds profound satisfaction in the elegant solutions. He sees how a series of small mechanical improvements, simple in concept, could collectively revolutionize textile production. The implications are clear: more fabric, faster, with less human effort. It burns bright in his imagination, a powerful, tempting vision of progress. He runs his calloused thumb over the etched lines, picturing the machine in motion, humming with efficiency. But as the days pass, his moral struggle intensifies. He's visited the textile workshops, seen the women bent over their looms, their fingers flying, their faces etched with the strain of their labor. Each loom supports a family, a livelihood. If one weaver could produce twice the cloth in half the time, what would happen to the others? Would the guild adapt, or would they see it as a threat, driving fellow artisans out of work? He knows the history of the Luddite movement from his own time, the fierce resistance to mechanization. The thought of inadvertently causing widespread hardship, of disrupting an entire industry, chills him. His modern assumptions about technological advancement, always leading to societal good, are being harshly reevaluated. He meticulously erases parts of his design with a damp cloth, then re-etches them, weighing efficiency against ethics. He thinks of the intricate social networks, the apprentice system, the family ties built around these crafts. A radical invention, even one intended to alleviate suffering, could unravel the delicate balance of their lives. He considers introducing just one small improvement, a minor adjustment, rather than a full revolution. But where does he draw the line? How much change is acceptable? How much is too much? As the week ends, the timber sketch remains, a silent testament to his internal debate. The oil lamp sputters, casting long, dancing shadows of his imagined mechanisms across the rough walls. He feels the weight of potential impact, the immense, unpredictable consequences of even a small alteration to the fragile historical tapestry. He is an engineer, driven by the urge to build and improve, but he is also a ghost from another time, burdened by the knowledge of history's unforgiving trajectory. He realizes that his greatest power in this era might also be his greatest danger, a silent weapon that could reshape more than just machines, but lives and centuries. The persistent, dull thud of a heavy hammer on a wooden peg used to drive a cumbersome winch echoes through the arsenal this week, a constant reminder of brute force. He feels the vibrations through the rough ground, a physical manifestation of inefficiency. The air is thick with the usual blend of salt, sawdust, and the metallic tang of sweat. But this week, a nervous tension mixes with it, a tangible premonition of change. He's made a decision. After days of internal debate, weighing the potential for disruption against the undeniable relief it could bring, he's chosen a path. He won't introduce a revolutionary loom or a steam engine. Instead, he will focus on a fundamental improvement to a simple, existing machine: the gear. He spent his nights refining the design he etched on timber, focusing on a specific involute tooth profile, a shape that minimizes friction and maximizes power transfer, far more efficient than the crude, triangular teeth commonly used. It's a subtle, almost invisible improvement, but one that could significantly reduce wear and effort in any geared system. He feels a knot of apprehension in his stomach. This is it. This is his first intentional foray into altering this world, not just reacting to it. He's chosen a winch in the arsenal, one that frequently jams and requires excessive effort. Observed by Marco and other experienced carpenters, he has carefully carved a small, perfect wooden model of his improved gear tooth, a testament to his newfound patience and mastery of simple tools. One morning, he approaches Marco, carrying his small wooden model, his heart pounding. He holds out the model, then points to the existing, inefficient gear teeth on the winch, tracing their worn, angular profiles. He then points to his model, demonstrating its smoother, curved shape, and mimes the gears turning effortlessly. Using the Venetian phrase, meno fatica asterisk, less effort, he tries to convey the idea of less friction, less wear, a longer lasting, more powerful machine. Marco examines the model, his fingers tracing its smooth curve, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. He then points to a nearby apprentice, a young man struggling with the winch, his back aching. He makes a gesture indicating Marco should try to incorporate this design. Marco considers the model, then the struggling apprentice, then looks back at him. He takes the wooden model, turning it over in his calloused hands. He barks an order to a nearby woodworker, gesturing towards a new piece of timber, and then towards his hand. The woodworker, accustomed to Marco's commands, nods and begins to prepare the wood. Marco points to him, then to the timber, a silent invitation to begin. He feels a surge of both hope and terror. This is a leap, a calculated risk, his modern assumption that good ideas will naturally be accepted is being tested in the crucible of medieval pragmatism and tradition. He begins to guide the woodworker, showing him how to carefully carve the new, more efficient gear teeth onto the fresh timber, demonstrating the exact curve and spacing. The woodworker, initially wary, slowly becomes engrossed in the precise new method, his brow furrowed in concentration. As the week ends, the first improved gear is almost complete. Its smooth, elegant curves, a stark contrast to the existing crude teeth. He observes it, feeling the quiet triumph of the small, functional improvement, but also the profound weight of its potential. He knows this isn't a quick fix, nor a revolution. It is an evolutionary step, a gentle nudge. This week, he's moved from observer to agent, taking his first deliberate, hopeful, and terrifying step towards subtly, carefully, reshaping the mechanical world around him, one perfectly curved gear tooth at a time. The ripple has begun. Its stark perfection contrasts sharply with the worn, angular teeth of the old gear it will replace. A silent testament to the hours of meticulous carving he'd guided the woodworker through. The air in the workshop crackles with a subtle tension, a mix of anticipation and a healthy skepticism from the onlookers. He stands beside the woodworker, who, under his instruction, carefully positions the fresh timber gear onto the axle of the troublesome winch. Marco, the head carpenter, hovers nearby, his arms crossed, his gaze sharp and unreadable. Other apprentices and a few curious dockworkers gather, drawn by the unusual activity. He gestures, directing the woodworker to apply a thick layer of animal fat to the axle and the new gear teeth, emphasizing the importance of lubrication to reduce friction. His Venetian, though still halting, now includes more specific technical terms he's adapted or invented, like asterisk dent curvo for the curved tooth, and scorer senza intoppi asterisk for smooth movement. The moment of installation is precise. He guides the woodworker's hands, making sure the new gear aligns perfectly with its mating gear, ensuring the optimal mesh. His modern understanding of tolerances and fit, translated through careful visual demonstration, proves critical. Once secured, he steps back, his heart thrumming a nervous rhythm against his ribs. This is not just a repair, it's an asterisk improvement, asterisk, a deliberate alteration to the existing order. The weight of his choice, the whisper of ambition from last week, now feels like a tangible, almost physical tremor of power in his hands. Marco nods, indicating for the apprentices to test the winch. One young man, typically strained and red-faced when operating this particular machine, takes hold of the long wooden handle. He pushes. Instead of the usual grinding protest and jerky, resistant movement, the winch handle glides forward with surprising ease. The new gear engages with a softer, more consistent asterisk clack 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 asterisk, a smoother mechanical song. The heavy load on the rope begins to rise, not with a reluctant shudder, but with a fluid, controlled motion. The apprentice's eyes widen in disbelief. Then a grin slowly spreads across his face, a look of pure, unadulterated relief. He gives another push, and the load continues to ascend with minimal effort. A low murmur spreads through the small crowd. Marco approaches the winch, lays a hand on its smooth new gear, then grasps the handle himself. He operates it, slowly at first, then with more force, feeling the profound difference. His stern expression softens, a hint of wonder in his eyes. He looks at him, then to the winch, then back at him, a silent acknowledgement of the efficacy of his new tooth. He gives a deep, slow nod, more profound than any before, a sign of genuine, earned respect. The other dockworkers exchange glances, a quiet buzz of recognition passing among them. They've seen it with their own eyes. The effort has been visibly lessened. As the day wears on, he continues to observe the winch, watching it operate with new efficiency. His shoulders ache less from physical labor, but his mind buzzes with the implications of this small, successful change. He has altered the flow of work, eased a burden, and introduced a subtle, yet undeniable improvement into this ancient machine. His modern assumptions about the clear benefit of progress feel validated, yet also terrifying in their direct impact. He's seen the immediate good, the relief on the apprentice's face, but he also feels the profound, unsettling weight of responsibility that comes with even this smallest exercise of his power. He realizes that every successful intervention, no matter how minor, tightens the knot of his influence, making him less of an observer and more of a participant in the unfolding history around him. Sound that cuts through the familiar clamor of the arsenal. It's no longer the straining grunts and creaking protests, but a quiet, efficient rhythm, accompanied by the swish of the rope as it effortlessly lifts heavy loads. The air, though still thick with pitch and sawdust, now carries a subtle undercurrent of unease, a tension that is almost palpable. He watches, a strange mix of pride and dread in his chest, as the single apprentice, the one who previously struggled, now operates the winch with relative ease. A single push on the handle, a controlled release, and the heavy timbers rise into place with a speed previously unthinkable for such a small crew. What used to require 6 men, straining and sweating, now demands only 2, one on the winch, another guiding the load. The sheer increase in productivity is undeniable. A quiet revolution in efficiency playing out before his eyes, but the triumph is short-lived. He sees the faces of the 4 other men, those who once formed the hauling team, now standing idle or reassigned to harder, less desirable tasks, menial chores, or moving even heavier loads by sheer brute force further down the yard. Their bodies are still bent, their hands still calloused, but their eyes, when they meet his, hold a new expression. It's not hostility, not yet, but a wary glares, a silent questioning. He feels their gazes, a heavy weight on his shoulders, a chill that has nothing to do with the damp Venetian air. His modern assumptions about progress, about technology always creating new opportunities, feel painfully naive in this context. He sees now, with stark clarity, the immediate, direct impact of his improvement. These men are not being upskilled or retrained for new, better jobs. They are simply being made redundant, their livelihoods threatened by a slightly more efficient gear. He understands the strict, traditional structure of the guilds, the limited opportunities for new work, the brutal competition for every scrap of labor. A small improvement to a machine is a large disruption to a life. Marco, the head carpenter, eyes him differently too. There's respect, yes, but also a new, cautious distance. He understands the implications for his own workforce, the delicate balance of patronage and livelihood he must maintain. He sees Marco gesturing to the men, speaking in low, hurried tones, perhaps trying to reassign them without causing open discontent. The efficiency he introduced, while technically impressive, has brought with it an immediate, visible human cost. As the week ends, he walks through the arsenal, feeling like an alien presence, a harbinger of unwanted change. The improved winch thrums along, a testament to his engineering prowess. But the efficiency feels hollow, tainted by the silent reproach in the eyes of the displaced workers. He realizes that the butterfly effect isn't just a theoretical concept. It's the raw, immediate impact of his choices on real lives, real families. His desire to help has inadvertently caused hardship. He understands now that true responsibility doesn't end with a successful design, but with the profound, often unforeseen, consequences it unleashes upon a fragile, interconnected society. The price of progress, he finds, is not always paid in coin, but in silent, wary glances. The loud, insistent shouts of market vendors, usually a comforting backdrop of commerce, now have a sharper, more desperate edge this week. He hears the haggling, the rising inflections, the frustrated murmurs that cut through the usual smells of fresh produce, spices, and the ubiquitous damp. He walks through the Rialto market, his senses attuned to the subtle shifts in the city's rhythm. He's noticed a change. The price of timber, which he's been buying in small quantities for his own experimental carvings, has subtly, almost imperceptibly, dropped, not drastically, but enough to be significant in this economy of tight margins. His engineer's mind, always seeking cause and effect, immediately connects it to the improved winch at the arsenal. With fewer men and less time needed to move the heavy logs, the cost of processing timber has decreased. That efficiency, a mere ripple at first, has begun to propagate through the supply chain. His modern assumptions about market dynamics are being vividly and painfully illustrated. He never considered himself an economist, but he understands basic supply and demand. Increased efficiency in one crucial step, like timber handling, means more timber can be processed and moved with the same resources, or the same amount with fewer resources. This in turn leads to a slight oversupply, driving prices down. On paper, it sounds like progress, a benefit to consumers. But he sees the consequences in the grumbling faces of the timber merchants, their profits squeezed, their families feeling the pinch. He observes a group of merchants arguing heatedly, their gestures animated, their voices raised. He catches fragments of words: prezzo, asterisk, price, asterisk, lavoro, asterisk, labor, difficile, asterisk, difficult. He understands they are discussing the new market conditions, the unexpected dip in prices. He feels a cold dread settle in his stomach. His small, almost invisible change to a gear tooth has not only displaced workers, it's now affecting the livelihoods of merchants, creating a cascade of economic disruption. The market, a delicate ecosystem of supply and demand, has been subtly but definitively disturbed. He reflects on how his own modern world relies on complex economic models, algorithms, and vast data to predict and manage such shifts. Here, it's all instinct, observation, and raw human reaction. The effects of his singular innovation are not confined to the physical mechanics of the arsenal. They are weaving their way through the social and economic fabric of the entire city. The butterfly effect is no longer a theoretical concept in a science fiction novel. It's the worried frown on a merchant's face, the frustrated sigh of a dockworker, the subtle drop in the price of wood. As the week ends, the market's hustle and bustle feels heavier, less joyful. He realizes that his engineering mind, so adept at solving mechanical problems, is utterly unprepared for the intricate, unpredictable complexities of human systems. His desire to improve has ignited a chain reaction, and he is powerless to stop it, let alone predict its full scope. He understands now that true innovation in this era demands not just mechanical genius, but a profound wisdom about society, about trade, about human nature itself. He feels the immense, silent weight of unintended consequences, a stark reminder that every action, no matter how small or well-intentioned, sends ripples far beyond its immediate impact, often disturbing a delicate balance he barely comprehends, like a physical manifestation of his gnawing guilt. He hears the distant calls of vendors, the splashes of passing boats, but the usual comforting sounds of the city are now overlaid with a new, unsettling awareness of the hardship his actions have inadvertently caused. The weight of this subtle change presses down on him, a heavy, invisible burden. He walks with a purpose, but also with a growing sense of apprehension, heading towards the area where the timber merchants usually congregate. He wants to see firsthand the impact. He sees fewer boats laden with timber, and those that are present seem to hold smaller, less valuable loads. The faces of the merchants, which he's come to recognize, are grim, their usual boisterous cries muted, replaced by more subdued, desperate appeals. He catches the eye of one merchant he'd seen previously, a man with a booming laugh and an expansive personality. Now, his face is drawn, his shoulders slumped, his gaze fixed on a meager pile of wood. A pang of guilt, sharp and undeniable, twists in his gut. He had wanted to help to ease the burdens, to improve the efficiency of this arduous world. His engineering mind sought optimization, less effort, greater output, but he had completely overlooked the delicate, intricate web of human lives that depended on those very inefficiencies. The extra hands required to move timber, the higher prices sustained by harder labor, these weren't flaws to be fixed, but fundamental components of a functioning, if harsh, society. He watches as a family, a woman and two small children approach the timber merchant. He doesn't understand their words, but the gestures are clear. The woman holds out a few small coins, pointing to a small, inexpensive plank. The merchant shakes his head, then reluctantly gestures towards an even smaller, less desirable piece. The exchange is somber, the desperation in the woman's posture palpable. He feels a fresh wave of shame. His small improvement had made timber slightly cheaper, yes, but it had also squeezed the profits of the merchants, making it harder for them to even afford their own basic needs, let alone offer fair prices. The ripple effect of his efficiency has reached the most vulnerable. He retreats. The market sounds now a cacophony of his own moral failings. His modern assumption that efficiency is always a good thing, that progress automatically benefits everyone, lies shattered. He understands now the inherent arrogance of his interventions, the blindness of his technological tunnel vision. He had viewed the system as a collection of mechanical problems to be solved, rather than a living, breathing community with intricate dependencies. As the week ends, he finds himself sitting alone by the canal, the rhythmic lapping of the water a cold comfort. The air is still, but his mind churns with the painful realization. He is not a benevolent force of progress here. He is a disrupting element, a foreign variable that has upset a delicate equilibrium he barely understands. He feels the immense, crushing weight of unintended consequences, a silent testament to his profound misjudgment. He is an engineer, yes, but more importantly, he is a human being grappling with the very real, very painful ethical fallout of his actions. He realizes that changing history is not just about technology, it's about lives, and the responsibility for those lives now rests, however subtly, on his shoulders. But it offers little comfort, a stark contrast to the easy camaraderie he'd found here just weeks ago. His evenings, once a respite of shared humanity, are now tinged with a painful chill, a direct consequence of his progress. He tries to join Marco and the other carpenters and dock workers, but the subtle shift is undeniable. Their conversations are hushed when he approaches, their gazes averted or fleeting. The easy claps on the shoulder are gone. Marco, his gruff friend, now offers only terse nods, his eyes holding a new, unsettling blend of respect and resentment. The warmth that had begun to bloom, the genuine companionship, has been strained, almost severed. He understands why. Paolo, the apprentice he mentored, now spends most of his time operating the efficient winch, while Paolo's work is easier, and he even earns a few more coins for his increased productivity. The 4 men who were displaced are now struggling. One, a burly dock worker with a family, has been reassigned to a truly brutal task, manually digging new foundations in the marshy lagoon, a dangerous, back-breaking job. His wages are meager, his face etched with worry. Another, an older man, has simply disappeared from the arsenal altogether, likely unable to find new work. His modern assumption that efficiency would benefit everyone, creating a rising tide that lifts all boats, has been utterly shattered. He sees now that in this tightly structured, limited economy, increased output from one source often means reduced opportunity for another. His innovation, intended to ease burdens, has instead reshuffled them, creating new hardships for his acquaintances. He feels a deep, persistent ache of responsibility, a personal guilt that overshadows any professional pride. He tries to offer a coin to the displaced dockworker, a small gesture of help. But the man stiffens, his eyes narrowing, and pushes his hand away with a curt, unintelligible phrase that sounds like a rejection of charity, an assertion of dignity. The gesture is clear. His unwanted help has already caused enough trouble. He retreats, the weight of the man's silent reproach heavier than any timber he's ever lifted. The local wine, once a source of warmth and fellowship, now tastes bitter in his mouth. As the week ends, he sits alone in the Osteria, observing the other patrons, the easy flow of their interactions, the comfort they find in their predictable, if hard, lives. His presence, once a curiosity, now feels like a disrupting force, a wedge driven between men. His modern desire for innovation, for constant improvement, has revealed its unexpected, cruel cost. He is an engineer, yes, but he is also an outsider who has, however unintentionally, damaged the bonds of friendship and community that were slowly beginning to embrace him. He realizes that history is not just a sequence of events, but a complex tapestry of human relationships, and his intervention has tugged a thread, leaving a painful tear. The true price of his ingenuity, he understands, is the loss of connection. And his tunic, the chill penetrating to his very bones. The air carries the usual blend of salt and distant cooking fires, but it also feels thick with his own introspection, a heavy cloud of profound, personal reckoning. He walks alone, his footsteps echoing softly in the quiet alleys. He spent days observing, listening, and reflecting. He's seen the subtle currents flowing differently through Venice. The efficient winch hums on, but the timber prices remain low, squeezing small merchants. The displaced dockworkers find only harder, less stable labor, or none at all. The strained silence from Marco, his friend, weighs heavily. It's no longer a question of whether his actions had an impact. It's a stark, undeniable reality that his interventions, however small, have caused suffering, altered lives, and subtly reshaped the delicate balance of this historical world. He leans against an ancient bridge, watching a solitary gondolier pole his craft through the murky water. His modern assumptions about his own benevolence, about the universal good of technological progress, have been utterly shattered. He wanted to solve problems, to ease hardship, to make things better. Instead, he has stumbled into a complex, interconnected web of human lives and livelihoods, accidentally unraveling threads he barely understood. The butterfly effect, once an abstract concept, is now a vivid, painful reality. He has become a silent, unwitting agent of change, and the responsibility for those changes, both seen and unseen, now rests squarely on his shoulders. His engineering mind, always seeking solutions, now grapples with a different kind of problem, an ethical one with no clear, quantifiable answer. How does one fix social disruption? Can he reverse the currents? The answer is a grim, echoing no. He cannot unteach the improved gear design. He cannot magically create new jobs for displaced workers or raise market prices without further unpredictable consequences. The change has been enacted, and it continues to propagate silently, relentlessly. He closes his eyes, remembering the faces of the struggling family at the market, the stoic defiance of the displaced dockworker, the strained kindness of Marco. He feels the immense weight of his actions, not as a theoretical burden, but as a tangible, personal ache. He recognizes that he is no longer just a traveler through time. He is a permanent resident, inextricably linked to the consequences of his presence. His anonymity, his illusion of being a detached observer, has completely evaporated. As the week ends, the sun sets over the lagoon, painting the sky in fiery oranges and deep purples. He watches it, feeling the profound acceptance of his new reality. There is no going back, no undoing what has been done. His challenge now is not just to survive, but to learn to navigate these subtle, powerful currents he has helped unleash, to understand the intricate social machinery of this world with the same diligence he once applied to gears and circuits. He is an engineer, yes, but he is now also a deeply responsible, morally burdened participant in history, forced to acknowledge that his greatest strength, his knowledge, can also be a source of profound, unforeseen disruption. His path forward must be one of extreme caution and perhaps a new kind of subtle, more empathetic intervention in iron, and the sharp tang of coal smoke feels like a surprisingly welcome embrace this week. It's a stark contrast to the persistent dampness of the Venetian alleys. He stands near the open maw of the furnace, watching a blacksmith, his powerful muscles rippling, shape red-hot metal with practiced, rhythmic blows. The glow of the fire casts dancing shadows, making the rough interior of the workshop seem both ancient and alive. He's not here for a repair or to offer advice. He's simply observing, seeking a quiet moment amidst the internal turmoil of recent weeks. His interactions with Marco are still strained, the usual camaraderie replaced by a polite, cautious distance. He spends more time alone, wrestling with the implications of his actions. But today, the rhythmic clang of the hammer, the intense heat, and the sheer physicality of the blacksmith's work offer a strange, grounding solace. The blacksmith, a burly man named Niccolo, whose face is perpetually smudged with soot, has grown accustomed to his quiet presence. He often gestures to a piece of metal or the hammer, trying to explain some aspect of his craft, using a mixture of rudimentary Venetian and eloquent hand movements. He listens, offering occasional nods of comprehension, slowly learning the specific properties of the metals available, the temperatures required, the sheer brute force needed to shape them. His engineer's mind, always seeking efficiency, observes the techniques, the strength of the blows, the precision in the rough work. One afternoon, a young girl, no older than 7, enters the forge, carrying a small, crude metal Toya miniature cart with wobbly wheels. She approaches Niccolo, her face a mixture of hopeful expectation and shyness. Niccolo, despite his imposing stature, kneels down, his soot-stained hand gently taking the toy. He examines it, then gestures to the bent axle, then to his tools, a silent promise to fix it. He looks up at the girl, a soft, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. As he does, his gaze flickers to him. For a fleeting moment, their eyes meet across the glowing forge. In Niccolo's gaze, he sees not just the warmth directed at the child, but a subtle acknowledgement, a shared understanding of quiet kindness amidst the harsh realities of their world. There's no judgment, no resentment, just a shared human moment, an unexpected tenderness that cuts through the recent emotional chill. It's a profound contrast to the wary glares he's been receiving, a reminder of the simple, unburdened humanity that still exists. As the week ends, the memory of that shared glance lingers. He feels the dampness of the Venetian evening, but a different kind of warmth now resides within him, a subtle counterpoint to the lingering guilt. He realizes that while his mind grapples with the complexities of cause and effect, with the ethics of innovation, the human heart seeks connection, kindness, and moments of shared understanding. He is an engineer burdened by the ripple of his past actions, but he is also a man, finding solace not in solutions, but in unexpected moments of tenderness, in the simple, unadulterated humanity of another soul across a glowing forge. This fleeting connection reminds him that even amidst the grand, impersonal forces of history and technology, It's these small, personal interactions that truly sustain the spirit. The deep, almost unnerving quiet of the Venetian night, broken only by the gentle lapping of water and the distant tolling of a church bell, is a profound sensory experience. This week, it settles around him in his small cot, a stark contrast to the clamor of his days. But it's in this quiet that his dreams become vivid, a jarring symphony of the world he left behind, a source of conflicted emotions. He dreams of the hum of server racks, the distant roar of jet engines, the smooth whir of a precision lathe. He smells ozone and freshly printed circuit boards. He sees blueprints scrolling across illuminated screens, complex 3D models rotating with effortless grace. In his dreams, he's back in his old office, surrounded by the sleek, efficient machines of his own time, his fingers flying across a keyboard, solving problems with elegant digital solutions. The sheer power, the speed, the advanced materials are intoxicating, a phantom limb aching with lost capability. Then he wakes. The smell of damp stone and stale air fills his nostrils. The only sound is the rustle of straw in his mattress and the gentle lapping of the canal outside. He feels the coarse wool against his skin, the familiar ache in his back from physical labor. The contrast is jarring, a cold splash of reality. He finds himself longing for the quiet efficiency of modern machines, the clean power, the ability to solve a problem with a few keystrokes rather than days of strenuous effort and crude tools. Yet a different kind of longing has also taken root. During his waking hours, he walks through the silent, fog-shrouded alleys in the early morning before the city awakens. He experiences a profound, ancient peace, the intricate dance of light and shadow on the worn stone, the hushed murmur of the lagoon, the simple beauty of a wooden bridge arching over a narrow canal. There are no incessant digital notifications, no blaring advertisements, no constant hum of unseen electricity. Life here is dictated by the sun and the moon, the tides and the seasons. It's hard, yes, but it possesses a raw, unpretentious authenticity. His modern assumptions about comfort and convenience being paramount are being challenged. He remembers the constant low-level stress of his old life, the endless deadlines, the demanding schedules, the feeling of always being connected, always on. Here, life is slower, more immediate, more grounded in the physical world. He sees the genuine smiles in the market, the shared laughter in the asterisk osteria asterisk, the quiet pride in a craftsman's work. There's a human connection here, a simple depth that he sometimes felt was lost in the hyperconnected, yet paradoxically isolating world he came from. As the week ends, he lies awake, suspended between two worlds. His dreams are a battleground of conflicting desires. The potent allure of modern machineries, the comfort of predictable solutions, against the raw, ancient peace of Venice, its human warmth, and the simple rhythm of its days. He feels the profound pull of both. He is an engineer, fundamentally driven by progress, but he is also a human being discovering an unexpected solace in the absence of it. He realizes that adaptation isn't just about surviving in the past. It's about discerning what truly brings peace, even if it contradicts everything he thought he knew about a better life. The future, he understands, might not always be progress of a carving tool, and the soft asterisk clink asterisk of metal is particularly intimate this week. He feels the damp air of the late afternoon, but the warmth from the lingering embers of the forge provides a small, comforting pocket. He sits on a low stool, etching carefully onto a piece of timber, his hands moving with practiced ease. Paolo, his young apprentice, watches him, his brow furrowed in concentration. He's been spending more time with Paolo, guiding his hands, teaching him the subtle nuances of carpentry and the rudimentary principles of mechanics. Paolo's Venetian has become clearer to him, and his own attempts at the dialect are less clumsy. Their communication is a blend of gestures, simple words, and an unspoken understanding that comes from shared labor. He sees the keen intelligence in Paolo's eyes, the quickness with which he grasps concepts, even when explained through pantomime. One afternoon, in the quiet solitude of the workshop, as the last of the other workers have departed, he finds himself sketching something more complex than usual. It's a representation of a multi-stage gear reduction, the kind used in complex modern machinery, far beyond anything commonly seen in 14th century Venice. He draws it abstractly, without specific context, showing how a small input could lead to a massive output. He traces the flow of power, the multiplication of force. Paolo leans closer, his eyes wide with curiosity. He points to the drawing, then back to the winch they had improved, then to his own muscles, a clear question in his gaze. How can such small gears create such great force? He looks at Paolo, then around the quiet workshop, a decision forming. He decides to share a fragment, a hint of his impossible past, a risk he never thought he'd take. He begins to sketch again, this time drawing a crude representation of a towering modern crane, impossibly tall, effortlessly lifting enormous weights. He draws a car, then a train, then an airplane soaring through the sky. He uses simple, dramatic gestures, miming their speed, their power, their impossible flight. He speaks slowly, carefully, in a mix of Venetian and sounds he hopes convey the magnitude, using words like asterisk futuro asterisk future and lontano asterisk far away. He doesn't explain the science, just the unimaginable scale of his former world. Paolo watches, utterly transfixed. His eyes are wide, not with fear or disbelief, but with a profound, almost childlike wonder. He points to the airplane, then looks up at the ceiling, then back at him. A silent question asking if such a thing could truly exist. He simply nods, a grave expression on his face, emphasizing the immense distance in time. Paolo then glances at the workshop door, then back at him, a silent gesture indicating the need for secrecy. He understands. As the week ends, a new bond, forged in shared secrecy and impossible knowledge, now exists between them. He feels the profound weight of this trust, the terrifying vulnerability of sharing even a fragment of his truth. His modern assumptions about the dangers of revealing his past have been softened by the need for connection. For someone to witness, even implicitly, his impossible journey. He is an engineer burdened by the secrets of his time, but he is also a mentor, a silent guardian of a young mind, now touched by a glimpse of a future he cannot comprehend. He realizes that this shared secret, this impossible truth, is both a profound burden and a fragile, unexpected gift, guiding Paolo's smaller, still learning hands. They are building something, not just repairing, not just improving a single part. They are constructing a new machine, a useful device that will bear their mark, their future. He's decided on a simpler, less disruptive, but still profoundly useful innovation. An improved, water-powered saw. He'd observed the immense effort involved in manual sawing, the slow, arduous process of transforming raw timber into planks. He'd seen the existing, rudimentary water wheels powering grinding stones, and realized the potential for adapting that power. His modern engineering mind envisions a crank mechanism, converting rotary motion into reciprocal motion, driving a large saw blade up and down, fed by a carefully designed carriage. He works in a secluded corner of the arsenal, a small shed near a canal with a consistent current. Marco, his relationship with him still cautiously distant, but now tinged with a flicker of curiosity, has granted him access, perhaps sensing a different kind of ambition than pure disruption. Paolo is his shadow, his eager assistant, absorbing every gesture, every whispered instruction. He sketches on smoothed timber planks, drawing simplified diagrams of cams, connecting rods and levers. He points to the flow of water, then to the rotation of a wheel, then to the up and down motion of a saw blade, using gestures and his growing Venetian vocabulary to convey the principles. They gather materials, strong, seasoned oak for the main frame, tough leather for belts and seals, and a heavy, reclaimed iron blade for the saw itself. He teaches Paolo how to precisely carve the wooden gears for the crank mechanism, how to carefully balance the water wheel, how to construct the sliding carriage that will feed the timber. He demonstrates how to use the ancient tools with precision, making Paolo understand that even with simple instruments, careful measurement and steady hands can achieve remarkable accuracy. He lets Paolo do much of the physical work, guiding him, correcting him, letting him feel the pride of creation. There are frustrations, inevitable setbacks with warped wood, dull tools, and misaligned components, but he tackles each problem with a calm, methodical approach, demonstrating the iterative nature of engineering. He uses his modern understanding of mechanics to anticipate failure points, to reinforce joints, to reduce friction where possible. He points to the strong, consistent flow of water in the canal, a reliable, tireless source of power. He explains, through gestures, how this power can replace human muscle, freeing men for other tasks, not displacing them, but reallocating their effort. As the week ends, the skeleton of the water-powered saw stands tall, impressive in its rough-hewn simplicity. The water wheel is mounted, the crank mechanism connected, the saw blade awaiting final calibration. He looks at it, a tangible manifestation of his engineering mind, built with his own calloused hands and the eager assistance of Paolo. This week, he has found a new purpose, a way to contribute that feels less disruptive and more organic. He realizes that a legacy isn't just about making things faster or cheaper, but about empowering people with tools that genuinely improve their lives without destroying the delicate balance of their existence. He is an engineer building a bridge between worlds, one carefully crafted machine at a time, seeing in the saw not just wood and iron, but a hopeful, tangible future taking shape. The gentle asterisk hiss asterisk of the canal water as it flows around the newly completed water wheel. A soft, consistent sound that powers their saw is the defining presence of this week. It's a rhythmic, almost meditative hum, accompanied by the fresh scent of sawdust and damp earth. He stands beside the finished machine, its wooden frame sturdy, its saw blade gleaming, a testament to weeks of meticulous labor. Paolo, his apprentice, beams with unreserved pride, his hands tracing the smooth gears they carved together. The water-powered saw works. With a push of a lever, the water wheel turns, engaging the crank mechanism, and the heavy saw blade begins its steady, rhythmic up and down motion. A log, carefully positioned on the carriage, is fed into the blade, and with surprising speed and precision, a smooth plank emerges. It's not as fast as a modern bandsaw, but but it's infinitely faster and less laborious than manual sawing. Marco, who initially watched with cautious skepticism, now stands with a look of genuine awe, his gruff features softened by admiration. He claps him on the shoulder, a solid, reaffirming gesture that bridges the distance that had grown between them. The impact is immediate and positive. Two men who once spent their entire days manually sawing are now freed for other tasks, tasks that still require skill and effort, but are less physically brutal. They are not displaced, they are reallocated, their labor made more effective. The cost of planks drops slightly, benefiting more artisans, but not enough to drastically upset the market. He observes these subtle shifts, a deep satisfaction replacing the gnawing guilt. This is the delicate balance he sought, progress without destruction. But as the days pass and the saw hums on, a new, unexpected emotion takes root. He looks at Paolo, his eager apprentice, who now effortlessly operates the machine, his face lit with the joy of mastering a new skill. He sees Marco, his friend, who now treats him with a warmth that has returned to its former strength. A silent thanks in his eyes. He feels the satisfaction of knowing he's created something genuinely useful, something that will benefit this community for generations to come. A lasting legacy built with his own hands. He thinks of his old life, a distant memory now, almost like a dream. The urgent pull to return has faded, replaced by a quiet sense of belonging. The idea of leaving, of simply vanishing from this world he has, however subtly influenced, now feels profoundly wrong. It feels like abandonment. He has built more than a machine. He has built relationships, earned trust, and found a purpose that transcends his own personal survival. He has, in essence, rooted himself here, a living part of Venice's ancient, industrious heart. As the week ends, he stands by the canal, the saw humming softly behind him. The cool, damp air feels familiar, almost like home. He realizes that while he may be a man from the future, his present, his true life, is undeniably here, in this 14th century Venice, leaving this life now, leaving Paolo to continue the work, leaving Marco and the others to adapt to his subtle changes, would be to tear a piece of himself away. He understands that adaptation is not just about changing himself to fit the environment, but about the environment changing him, subtly, profoundly, until the thought of departing becomes a profound act of severance. He is no longer simply a mechanical engineer lost in time. He is a Venetian craftsman, and his loyalty, his future, now lies irrevocably with this past. The sun bristling with industry suddenly feels cold and heavy with accusation. He stands by the water-powered saw, its steady hum a peaceful backdrop to the unfolding hostility. He'd been showing Paolo a finer point of blade alignment when the man, a burly figure named Emilio, storms towards them. Emilio's face is red with rage, his eyes narrowed into slits of resentment. He points to the saw, then to him, then makes a violent, chopping motion with his hand, following it with a gesture of empty pockets. He recognizes the implication. His innovations have taken livelihoods. Paolo, sensing the danger, instinctively steps in front of him, his young face pale but determined. He speaks quickly, nervously, trying to placate Emilio. Marco, alerted by the raised voices, rushes over, his expression grim. He tries to intervene, speaking calming words to Emilio. But the man is too consumed by his anger. Emilio points again, this time towards him, and then towards the church, making a complex gesture he doesn't fully understand. But the tone is clear, something about unnaturalness, about meddling, about perhaps even witchcraft. The shadow of suspicion falls heavily, chilling him to the bone. His modern assumptions about logical discourse and the rational acceptance of beneficial technology vanish in the face of raw, emotional fury. He understands the fear, the desperation. To Emilio, he isn't an engineer bringing progress. He is an outsider, a sorcerer perhaps, with strange knowledge that disrupts the natural order and steals bread from his family. The accusation, delivered in a language he barely comprehends, is terrifying in its potential implications. Venice, for all its mercantile sophistication, is still a deeply superstitious society. Marco, his friend, stands firm, his arm a subtle barrier between him and Emilio. He speaks with authority, a string of forceful Venetian that seems to defend him, or at least diffuse the immediate threat. He gestures to the smoothly working saw, then to the men who now operate it with less strain, then to the work that still needs doing. He points to Paolo, who stands protectively. The argument continues, a tense standoff of words and glares. Eventually, Emilio, still muttering curses, is led away by another worker, his anger simmering but contained. He stands there, his heart pounding, feeling the residue of the man's hatred, the profound weight of his accusation. He glances at Marco, who gives him a long, searching look, then a slow, almost imperceptible shake of his head, a warning. He understands. As the week ends, the hum of the water-powered saw, once a source of pride, now feels like a dangerous beacon. He realizes that his ability to build and improve can be perceived not as a gift, but as a dangerous, even malevolent, power. His modern concepts of progress and innovation are alien, frightening. He is no longer just contending with the technical challenges of the past, but with its fears, its superstitions, its deeply ingrained social structures. He understands that while he has built a legacy, he has also built a target, and the shadow of suspicion, once distant, has now fallen directly upon him. His life here, he realizes, is far more precarious than he ever imagined. A chilling presence that invades his every breath. He feels the cold sweat on his brow, not from physical exertion, but from a growing, visceral terror. The low murmur of the city, once a comfort, now seems to hold a sinister undertone, a whisper of unseen eyes and judgment. The threat of the Inquisition, a vague historical fact from his past, has become a terrifying, immediate reality. He's heard the stories, whispered in hushed tones around braziers and in the corners of asterisk osterias. Stories of strange individuals, of unnatural knowledge, of those who question the established order. The word asterisk, eretico asterisk, heretic, spoken with chilling dread, is one of the few Venetian words he now understands all too well. Emilio's accusation, the gesture towards the church, the implication of witchcraft, it all makes a terrifying, sudden sense in a world where God's will governs everything. An unexplained advancement, an unnatural efficiency, could easily be perceived as a pact with darker forces. He spends his days working at the water-powered saw, but his movements are cautious, his eyes constantly scanning his surroundings. He avoids eye contact, speaks even less than usual, trying to blend into the background, to appear unremarkable. He instructs Paolo in hushed tones, emphasizing that the saw is merely an asterisk improvement, asterisk, on existing technology. A clever adaptation, not a miraculous invention. He tries to frame it within their understanding, linking it to the familiar water wheels that power grinding stones. His modern ideas, his entire worldview of scientific progress, are not just foreign here, they are potentially outright heresy. Marco, his friend, approaches him one evening, his face unusually grave. He speaks in low, urgent Venetian, using many gestures. He points to Emilio, then to the city, then to him, making a series of signs that clearly convey danger. The need for caution, for modesty, for avoiding attention. He understands Marco is trying to protect him, warning him of the invisible eyes and ears of authority, of the deep-seated fear of anything that disrupts the established order of the world, whether divine or secular. He remembers that Venice itself, though fiercely independent, still had to contend with the power of the church and its various inquisitions. He thinks back to his earliest days, his casual suggestions for improvements, his impatience with inefficiency. He shudders, realizing how close he came to revealing too much, too quickly. The crude wooden gear on the winch, the efficient water-powered sawthies are wonders in this age, and wonders can be misinterpreted as miracles, or worse, as dark magic. His modern assumptions about the free exchange of ideas, about innovation being celebrated are brutally naive. Here, an idea that doesn't fit the established narrative can get you imprisoned, tortured, or worse. As the week ends, he retreats to his small, cold cot, pulling the rough wool blanket tightly around him. The darkness is absolute, a fitting reflection of the profound fear that now grips him. He realizes that his struggle here is no longer just about survival or even subtle improvement. It's about hiding, about carefully curating his knowledge, about suppressing the very essence of his modern mind to remain safe. He is an engineer who has glimpsed the future, but now he understands the crushing weight of a past that views such knowledge as a dangerous, heretical threat. The path ahead is one of extreme circumspection, of blending into the shadows, lest his light be extinguished by the fires of suspicion, with the ever-present damp, and a new, colder kind of fear. He hears the hushed whispers of people passing, their conversations punctuated by mentions of strega asterisk, witch, and geudizio asterisk, judgment. The threat, once a vague chill, is now a palpable presence, and it's drawing uncomfortably close to those he cares for. He learns, through broken Venetian and Marco's grave gestures, that Emilio, the dockworker, has been actively spreading rumors, not just about the unnatural efficiency of the saw, but about his own strange demeanor, his foreign accent, his unexplained knowledge. The whispers have reached ears within the arsenal's hierarchy, and more importantly, outside of it, he sees guards patrolling more frequently, their eyes scanning faces, their presence a chilling reminder of the Republic's strict laws and the Church's omnipresent influence. His modern assumptions about personal privacy and the freedom of speech are utterly irrelevant here. He knows the danger isn't just to himself, but to Marco, who defended him, and especially to Paolo, his eager apprentice, who is now intimately connected to his unnatural work. He sees the fear in Paolo's young eyes, the way he flinches at sudden noises, the way he tries to appear inconspicuous. He feels a profound, almost paternal instinct to protect them, a powerful surge of loyalty that transcends his own precarious situation. He grapples with a terrible choice. He could flee. Venice is a city of canals, of hidden passages, of transient populations. He could disappear into the broader Italian peninsula, perhaps find refuge in another city, or simply become a nameless wanderer. But that would mean abandoning Marco and Paolo, leaving them vulnerable to the suspicion he has brought upon them. It would mean leaving the water-powered saw, a machine that now efficiently aids the arsenal, perhaps to be destroyed or its users condemned. His sudden departure might even confirm the rumors, damning them all. His other option is to stay, to face the scrutiny, to try and integrate more deeply, to appear utterly conventional, to suppress his intellect, to dismantle his innovations, to become completely unremarkable. But this risks exposure, the potential for a formal inquiry, the dreaded asterisk judicio that could strip him of his freedom, or worse, the thought of being questioned, of trying to explain modern physics or engineering without revealing his true origin, is a terrifying prospect. His modern understanding of justice, of proving innocence, feels utterly inadequate against the arbitrary power of a medieval court driven by fear and dogma. He watches Paolo working diligently at the saw, humming a quiet, local tune, his face alight with newfound skill. He sees Marco supervising other workers, his gaze often drifting towards him, a silent question of loyalty and consequence in his eyes. He cannot abandon them. The decision, though terrifying, becomes clear. As the week ends, he feels the weight of his chosen path, a heavy, cold dread mixed with a resolute determination. He will stay. He will face whatever comes. His freedom, his very life, is now secondary to the protection of those who have, however reluctantly, accepted him. He is an engineer, but more profoundly, he is a man bound by loyalty, making a difficult choice to put others before himself, knowing that this decision risks everything. The shadow of the Inquisition looms, and he stands ready, not for progress, but for defense. Cut, a heavy timber, clumsily handled by another worker, had fallen, pinning Marco against a workbench. The shouts of alarm, the frantic movements of the other carpenters, paint a grim picture of urgency. In the ensuing chaos, his engineer's mind, trained for problem solving under pressure, takes over. He sees the heavy timber, precariously balanced, threatening to crush Marco further. He barks rapid, urgent commands in broken Venetian, pointing to a strong pry bar, a sturdy block, and the exact fulcrum point. He gestures for 3 men to lift, for 2 to brace. His movements are swift, decisive, his focus absolute. With a collective grunt, they manage to shift the timber, freeing Marco, who lies pale and groaning. But the wound is severe. He tears a strip from his own tunic, pressing it against the gash, trying to stem the flow. He knows, from his modern medical knowledge, the terrifying risk of infection in this era. He needs to clean it to bind it properly, but he lacks proper antiseptics or sterile dressings. As he works, Marco, his face etched with pain, reaches out a hand, grasping his arm. He speaks rapidly, urgently, pointing to the water-powered saw in the corner, then making a violent gesture of destruction, then pointing to Emilio, the accuser. He understands. The rumors have intensified. The saw, his proudest invention, is now too dangerous a symbol. It needs to disappear. The choice is immediate, stark. Protect his friend, or protect his legacy. His modern assumptions about the enduring nature of invention, about the value of his contributions, are irrelevant in the face of this desperate plea. He looks at Marco's pale face, the fear in his eyes not just for his wound, but for the darker implications of the unnatural machine. He looks at Paolo, trembling, watching them, his innocence threatened by the same rumors. He nods, a grim determination hardening his features. He gestures to Paolo and another apprentice, then points to the water-powered saw. He makes a disassembling motion, then points to the canal, indicating they must break it apart and sink it. Paolo's face falls, a look of profound sadness, but he understands. Marco gives a weak, grateful nod. The next few hours are agonizing. Under his direction, Paolo and the other apprentice work quickly, dismantling the machine they so meticulously built. The gears are pried off, the water wheel unhinged, the frame broken into smaller pieces. He oversees it all, his heart aching with each splintering plank, each removed bolt. He carefully removes the unique involute gears, the very heart of his innovation, securing them in a small pouch, a silent act of preservation, a small defiance against complete erasure. Then, piece by piece, they carry the parts to a secluded spot on the canal, and with heavy hearts, drop them into the murky water. The splashes are quiet, final. As the week ends, Marco is feverish, his wound still dangerous, but he is alive. He sits by his friend's bedside, applying crude poultices and offering what comfort he can, his hands clean of sawdust, but stained with a different kind of sacrifice. The water-powered saw, his testament to progress, is gone. He feels the profound emptiness of its absence, the loss of his creation. But he also feels a deep, quiet resolve. He has chosen humanity over ingenuity, friendship over legacy. This week, he's learned the true, humbling cost of belonging in this ancient world. Sometimes, to protect those you care for, you must willingly destroy the very things you cherish, burying your advancements to ensure their safety. The familiar ache in his muscles, but his spirit is different. He stands firm against the lingering shadows of suspicion, a resilient person forged in the crucible of this unforgiving past. Marco's fever broke after several terrifying days, a testament to his own rudimentary care, and perhaps, simply, Marco's robust constitution. He sits by his friend's side, watching him regain strength, the wound slowly mending. The silence between them is comfortable now, filled with a deeper understanding than words could convey. Paolo, too, seems to have recovered his youthful vigor, though a new wariness lurks in his eyes. The water-powered saw is gone, its disappearance calming the immediate whispers of unnatural activity. But the underlying threat, the general suspicion towards anything too different, too efficient, remains. Emilio, though subdued, still casts venomous glances. He feels the weight of anonymous eyes, the subtle shift in conversations when he enters a room. His modern assumptions about safety and justice are constantly challenged. He knows that his very existence here, his unusual knowledge, makes him vulnerable. Yet, something has changed within him. The initial fear, the disorientation, the guilt, they haven't vanished, but they no longer consume him. He walks through the bustling arsenal with a quieter confidence. He still helps where he can, offering small, subtle improvements to existing tools, adjustments to leverage points, or more efficient rope rigging techniques. He uses his hands, his gestures, and his slowly improving Venetian, always framing his advice within the context of established methods, emphasizing asterisk miglioramento asterisk, improvement, rather than asterisk novità asterisk, newness. He looks at his calloused hands, at the lines etched around his eyes from long days and restless nights. He remembers the soft hands of his past, the anxieties of his modern life. Here, he has faced raw physical hardship, profound loneliness, moral dilemmas, and the very real threat of persecution. He has adapted, not just externally by wearing the clothes and eating the food, but internally by finding a new moral compass in a world devoid of his old certainties. He has learned to live with less, to find meaning in small victories, to value loyalty and human connection above all else. One evening, as the sun sets over the lagoon, painting the water in hues of gold and rose, he watches a fleet of galleys preparing to depart, their sails unfurling, their oars dipping rhythmically. He sees the immense human effort, the coordinated precision, the centuries of accumulated knowledge. He is a part of it now, however small. The fear is still there, a low thrum beneath his skin, but it is no longer paralyzing. It is a companion, a reminder of the stakes. He has faced the abyss of time travel, the loss of everything familiar, and emerged not unscathed, but undeniably stronger. As the week ends, he feels a profound sense of groundedness. He realizes that the resilient person he has become is not just a survivor, but a new man, shaped by the harsh, beautiful reality of 14th century Venice. His original identity as a modern mechanical engineer, while still a part of him, is now interwoven with the identity of a Venetian craftsman, a friend, a cautious innovator. He knows the dangers, but he also knows his own strength, a quiet, unwavering core of resilience that allows him to stand firm, not against time itself, but within it. The smell of Venice, the smell of his life here. He breathes it in deeply, a quiet contentment settling in his chest. He feels the solid, rough wood of the workbench beneath his hands, the familiar weight of a mallet. the rhythm of his work now ingrained in his very being. He works alongside Marco and Paolo, no longer as an outsider or a silent helper, but as an integral part of their workshop. His Venetian, though still accented, flows more freely, a blend of necessity and immersion. He jokes with Marco, offers patient guidance to Paolo, and occasionally shares a rough meal with the other carpenters. The wary glances have faded, replaced by genuine acceptance, even a quiet respect. He is simply David, the craftsman, the man with a knack for making things work better, whose presence is no longer questioned. He has learned to balance his instinct for innovation with a deep understanding of the social fabric. He introduces improvements now in small, almost imperceptible increments, framing them not as his own revolutionary ideas, but as subtle refinements of existing methods. He's designed a slightly more efficient join for heavy timbers, a better balanced cart for hauling tools, and a subtly improved system for sharpening blades that doesn't immediately displace workers, but eases their daily burden over time. These changes are organic, growing from within the existing framework, making them less threatening and more readily adopted. He spends an afternoon helping Marco repair a small, intricate wooden gear for a merchant's hoist. Marco works with a practiced eye, but he offers a quiet suggestion for strengthening a key pivot point with a cleverly inserted piece of hardened horn, reducing wear. Marco studies his suggestion, nods, and together they implement the change. It's a collaborative effort, a blending of ancient craft and modern insight, respectful and effective. His modern assumptions about the linearity of progress, about the inevitable march towards greater complexity, have softened. He sees the profound wisdom in simplicity, in durability, in solutions that require minimal resources and can be maintained with readily available materials. The resilience of this world, its capacity to endure and thrive with what it has deeply impressed him. He no longer seeks to reshape it in his own image, but to quietly enhance it, to contribute within its own rich context. As the week ends, he sits by the canal, watching the play of light on the water, the familiar dance of boats. The cold dampness no longer bothers him. The sounds of the city, the smells, the feeling of the rough stone, they are all intimately his. He thinks of the distance he's traveled, not just through time, but within himself. The loneliness, the fear, the yearning for his old life have receded, replaced by a deep sense of belonging, a quiet contentment with his place in this ancient, vibrant world. He is an engineer who lost his future, but found a present, a purpose, and a home. He realizes that belonging isn't just about being accepted. It's about accepting fully and completely the life you find yourself in and finding peace within its rhythms. The the face, a sensation that evokes both the passage of time and the enduring nature of his new reality. He stands with Marco, the head carpenter, by a newly launched galley, its massive hull gleaming with fresh pitch. They watch the skilled asterisk arsenalati make final preparations, their movements precise and efficient. Marco's face, usually stern, is softened by a quiet pride in their collective work. The two men share a long, comfortable silence, their gazes following the industrious activity, a silent acknowledgement of their shared journey. Marco turns to him, his weathered face creased with a thoughtful expression. He speaks slowly, carefully, in a Venetian that has become almost entirely comprehensible to him. He talks about the changes in the workshop, the subtle improvements in efficiency, the reduced strain on the workers. He acknowledges the strange wisdom he has brought, the different eye he possesses. There's no longer suspicion, only a deep, unburdened recognition of his unique contributions. He points to Paolo, who now confidently supervises a small group of apprentices, his movements sure, his knowledge clearly growing. Marco makes a gesture indicating that Paolo is ready to lead. He responds, his own Venetian now fluid, expressing his gratitude for Marco's trust, for his friendship, for the opportunity to contribute. He speaks of Paolo's keen mind, his potential, his ability to carry on the improvements. He sees in Marco's eyes a reflection of his own journey, a journey from wary skepticism to profound understanding and a quiet acceptance of the unconventional. Their bond, forged in shared labor, adversity, and a gradual bridging of cultural and temporal divides, is now a powerful, unspoken force. His modern assumptions about the solitary nature of genius, about individual achievement, have been thoroughly revised. He realizes that his greatest impact here isn't just in the machines he's helped refine, but in the relationships he's built, the knowledge he's quietly shared, the trust he's earned. His innovations are not isolated acts, but threads woven into the existing tapestry, guided by the wisdom and experience of men like Marco. As the sun begins to set, casting long, orange shadows across the arsenal, Marco places a heavy, comforting hand on his shoulder. He says a few more words, a blessing, a statement of enduring friendship, and a tacit acknowledgement of the profound, unspoken journey they have shared. He understands that Marco, in his own way, has also been a mentor to him, teaching him the invaluable lessons of adaptation, caution, and human connection in a world so vastly different from his own. As the week ends, he feels a sense of profound completion and quiet gratitude. The conversation with Marco is more than just words. It's a validation of his place, a recognition of his unique existence, and a shared understanding that transcends the ordinary. He realizes that while he may be trapped in the past, he is not alone. He has found a family, a purpose, and a home. The fear and loneliness that once defined his existence have been replaced by a deep, unwavering sense of belonging, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit to find connection. Even across the vast, impossible chasm of time, he is no longer just existing. He is truly living, and he is seen. The risk of Mallet's shaping timber now carries a subtly different tone this week, a more efficient, less strained sound than he remembers from his earliest days. He breathes in the familiar scent of sawdust and brine, a comforting mix that speaks of enduring industry. He feels the coolness of the morning air, but the warmth in his chest comes from a quiet, profound observation. He watches, a silent, almost invisible presence in the background, as a new generation of apprentices works in the arsenal. Paolo, no longer the nervous youth, moves with a seasoned craftsman's confidence, directing the others. They are constructing a new set of hauling gear for a large merchant ship. He observes their movements, the precise placement of fulcrums, the clever bracing of supports, the efficient use of the improved Winchell small refinements that he had quietly introduced, now seamlessly integrated into their daily practice. He sees a young apprentice struggling with a stubborn rope. It's not refusing to yield. Paolo approaches, and with a swift, practiced motion, demonstrates a more efficient way to untangle it, a technique he himself had shown Paolo months ago, an adaptation of a modern knot he'd recalled. The apprentice watches, then replicates the action, a look of dawning understanding on his face. It's a small detail easily overlooked, but for him, it is a powerful moment. His unique involute gear tooth design, once feared and then buried, now subtly influences the carving of new gears across the arsenal. He sees it in the slightly more refined curves, the smoother meshing, the reduced friction in various hoists and presses. It's not a revolution, not a sudden leap, but an evolutionary step, quietly adopted because it simply works better. His original design, though destroyed, has dispersed as knowledge, becoming a small, lasting legacy. His modern assumptions about the grandness of impact, about needing to leave a monumental mark, have entirely shifted. He realizes that true, sustainable change in this world isn't about massive inventions or bold pronouncements. It's about subtle, practical improvements that ease lives, are easily understood, and can be replicated with existing tools and materials. It's about planting seeds of knowledge that blossom slowly, organically, without uprooting the entire garden. He feels a quiet pride in this, a deep satisfaction that his interventions have been helpful, not harmful. He watches the apprentices, their faces earnest and focused, learning from Paolo, who in turn learned from him. They are the future, carrying forward not just the traditions of their craft, but also the subtle, almost invisible improvements that will make their work and their lives a little less arduous. He sees the continuity, the unbroken chain of knowledge being passed down, subtly altered and enhanced by his presence. As the week ends, the setting sun casts a golden glow over the arsenale, illuminating the industrious scene. He feels a profound sense of peace. His fear of disruption has been replaced by the quiet triumph of integration. He is no longer just an engineer lost in the past. He is a part of this past, a silent contributor to its slow, organic evolution. He understands that a legacy isn't always carved in stone or shouted from rooftops. Sometimes it's whispered in a clever technique, etched into a refined curve, and passed down through the calloused hands of a new generation. It is a quiet, lasting legacy, seen not as his, but simply as asterisk theirs. The rhythm resonates with a deep, calming resonance this week. It's accompanied by the comforting sense of wood smoke, damp stone, and the subtle, metallic tang of an active workshop. He feels the vibrations through the soles of his well-worn boots, a steady, grounding pulse that perfectly matches the rhythm of his own beating heart. He is home. He moves through the arsenale with effortless familiarity, his body accustomed to its physical demands, his mind fluent in its unspoken language of craft and labor. He no longer feels the rough wool against his skin. It's simply his clothing, a second skin that feels natural and right. His Venetian is fluent now, laced with local idioms and the occasional gesture, blending seamlessly with the voices around him. He is called David, the Venetianized version of his name, and the sound feels as natural as breathing. He works on a small project with Marco, a new system of counterweights for a delicate navigational instrument. He offers precise calculations and subtle design improvements, which Marco, with a nod of complete trust, incorporates. Paolo, now a skilled craftsman in his own right, oversees a team constructing a large rudder, his movements mirroring Marco's, his quiet authority undeniable. He sees his own influence reflected in Paolo's careful measurements, his attention to reducing friction, his understanding of leverage. His modern assumptions, once rigid and absolute, have dissolved into a flexible understanding of the world. He no longer yearns for electric light or modern convenience. He finds beauty in the flickering candlelight, efficiency in simple, well-made tools, and profound satisfaction in the tangible results of his hands. The silence of the night is a welcome respite, the clamor of the day a vibrant symphony of life. He has found a new rhythm, a new pace, one that aligns perfectly with the ancient pulse of Venice. One afternoon, He stands by the canal, watching a asterisk gondola glide past, its asterisk gondolier effortlessly navigating the narrow waterway. He thinks of the engineering marvel that is the gondola itself, its asymmetrical design, allowing it to move straight with a single oar, the careful balance, the subtle forces at play. He no longer sees it as primitive, but as a perfectly evolved machine, a testament to centuries of trial and error, of intuitive engineering. He understands it now, not just intellectually, but viscerally, intimately. As the week ends, he sits in the asterisk osteria with Marco and Paolo, sharing wine and a simple meal. Their laughter fills the air, warm and genuine. He is one of them, fully integrated, deeply connected. The ghosts of his past life, the hum of machines, the screens, the speed, they are distant echoes now, fading further with each passing day. He has accepted his new identity, not as a sacrifice, but as a homecoming. He is David, the craftsman of Venice, a part of its ancient heart, his knowledge subtly woven into its ongoing story. He realizes that finding peace isn't about controlling the past or escaping it, but about truly inhabiting it, embracing its realities, and finding a profound, unwavering sense of self within its embrace. This isn't just adaptation, it is transformation. He feels the sun warm on his face, the familiar weight of his tools in his calloused hands, the steady rhythm of his breath. It's the kind of day that makes the stones of Venice shimmer, a perfect culmination of his journey. He stands in the arsenale, not observing from the periphery, but at the heart of the activity. Marco, now a true and trusted friend, works beside him on a complex rigging system for a new galley, their movements synchronized, their few spoken words a familiar shorthand. Paolo, no longer an apprentice, but a respected master in his own right, directs other craftsmen nearby, his voice clear and confident, his methods subtly influenced by the quiet lessons he absorbed. You catch Paolo's eye across the bustling yard, and he offers a quick, genuine smile, a shared understanding passing between them that needs no words. Your modern identity as a mechanical engineer, once a badge of honor, then a source of torment, has fully transformed. You are David, the Venetian craftsman, the quiet innovator who understands the properties of wood and metal, the power of leverage, and the delicate balance of human effort. Your skills are not alien knowledge, but a valued contribution, integrated into the age-old traditions of the arsenale. The machines you helped refine or subtly improve are now part of the fabric of this city's industry. Their benefits felt without being overtly attributed to any single, strange source. The future you once knew is a distant, almost mythical dream. The hum of electricity, the impossible speed of flight, the vast digital networks. They are fading echoes in the deeper, more resonant hum of Venice. Your assumptions about progress, about going forward, have been entirely reshaped. You understand now that true progress is often slow, incremental, and deeply intertwined with the human cost. Your path is no longer about returning or even fundamentally altering history, but about living within it authentically, responsibly. You walk through the bustling market, recognizing faces, exchanging nods and simple greetings, the cries of the vendors, the smell of fish and spices, the laughter of children. It's all part of the intricate, vibrant tapestry of your life now. You are a thread in this tapestry, woven in, indispensable. The thought of leaving, of disrupting this piece, is unthinkable. You are bound to this past, not as a prisoner, but as a participant, a contributing soul in a story that continues to unfold around you, day by unchanging day. As the week and this chapter of your life comes to a close, you sit by the canal as dusk settles, painting the sky in deep purples and golds. The air is cool, the water laps gently, and the distant bells of San Marco chime a familiar tune. You feel the rough stone beneath your hand, solid and enduring. The future is unwritten, not just for this world, but for you. Yet, there's no fear in this uncertainty, only a deep, quiet contentment. You have lost a future, but you have found a present, a purpose, and a home. You are a Venetian engineer, forever bound to the past. And in that profound connection, you have found an unexpected and enduring peace.